Welcome in, everybody. We're live, I hope. And this is episode 7 of The Scope. It is a live show. We talk about first-person shooter games, and it's awful. It's a shitty, terrible show. But these guys are here to rescue it. So we're so thankful that they're joining us today on the show. They're going to save this disaster. I just know it. I'm joined by the co-host of The Objective, a Battlefield podcast, Codpast. This is going great.
Yeah.
Dubfire33 over here, and Only Slightly Bad. These guys run an awesome podcast. We're going to talk about it a little bit here at the beginning. And yeah, how are you guys doing? How are you doing, Dub?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited as hell to be here. This is fun. I've been waiting for the invite ever since you announced the show, man. So
yeah,
I'm excited to be here, man, for sure. Talk about some games and some cry on each other's shoulder about Battlefield.
Yeah, this is going to be like a support group for disenfranchised Battlefield creators here at the beginning. So guys, get your Kleenexes and stuff out. How are you doing, OSB?
Good. Yeah. Like Dub, I'm excited to be here. Kind of butthurt it took this long to get here, but it's fine.
Well,
there's bigger names out there. I understand.
Well, you're going to see why that is, as this show is fraught with technical issues and disasters and awkward pauses.
So it's our show.
Okay,
I mean, no, you have no idea. And also, as you guys know, before we went live, having the 3 people on the screen, and then I have the screen share screen, like we're riding on hopes and dreams right now. Like this thing could get derailed at any point, and we're counting on my rural eastern Kansas internet to hang in there too. Like I don't think people understand like how much is going on and how much this is ready just to fall off their tracks and just be gone. So
just a rattle trap. It's just it's a rattle trap of a broadcast. But hey, we're gonna make it work, right?
Yeah, whatever. And I guess if the stream dies, then we'll still just hang out. So
that's fine too. Yeah, man.
So yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about your guys' podcast. I'm gonna pull it up on the screen. I pulled up the Apple Podcast preview of your guys' podcast on the screen for everybody. You guys didn't know this, for those of you playing at home, you can actually, I don't know if you guys know this, Dub and OSB, you can go on there and you can leave 5-star reviews, and it really helps the people who do the podcast out. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but
yes.
But yeah, all right. So yeah, guys, go check it out. We're going to talk a little bit about what the future of their podcast is, because I mean, we're, as Battlefield creators, we're all kind of in the same boat with just not a lot of interest in the game. I know last week we talked about the Google Trends and like where the search volume is just falling off. So that's where it's at. I just wanted to start talking a little bit about Battlefield and touch on that. So when did you start playing Battlefield, Dub, and what's your favorite one?
So I started playing Battlefield with Battlefield 1942. Excuse me. Some friends of mine said, hey, we're playing this new game, you should really check it out. And so I fell in love with it like the instant I played it. It was definitely a little confusing at first, because it was really like unlike any other kind of game at the time. Quake and Doom and stuff like that, right? And other kind of first-person shooter games at the time were all adventure style first-person shooter games. And it was just this massive, it was like kind of a massive multiplayer World War II, shooter game, and I loved it. And it's probably still my favorite one, just because it's the original and it's really what got me into it. But very close seconds are definitely Battlefield 2142 and Battlefield 4. So I still, as much as I like 42, I think the consensus amongst a lot of people is that 4 is, 4 and 3. Obviously, it goes back and forth, but yeah. So definitely the original one, and like 2142 and 2142. Let's make that distinction. Battlefield 2142.
Yeah,
and,
I almost spit my bourbon all over the screen when I heard Battlefield 2. I was like, is he doing that? So yeah, what about you, OSB?
So technically speaking, my first Battlefield was 2142, but like I was 8 or something. I played it at my
child.
Yes, I am a child. I was like playing it at my friend's house, like offline against bots. So like I played it, but like I didn't at the same time. My first real Battlefield experience was either Bad Company 2 or Battlefield 3. Probably Battlefield 3 is the one I spent more time in. I played the Bad Company game single players, but I didn't really touch the online too much.
Yeah. So yeah, that's, I mean, your story is like reflects a lot. I mean, I don't know how to say it. Like the way you got into Battlefield is pretty similar. A lot of people came to the franchise around those times. So then what made you decide to like take it another step and do a podcast?
So I had watched Dub struggle for a while with it. Those early episodes were
Hey,
rough.
come on! I didn't struggle.
Well, they were a little rough.
It was tough sledding. It was tough sledding, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, in terms of starting the podcast, I was gonna say, it's like, why are you answering that question? I started the podcast.
Fuck you, that's why.
You remember? Okay.
Just let him have it.
Keep that in mind.
Because we all know the podcast really didn't start until Evan got there. So
it really kind of didn't. I mean, obviously I was having fun doing it on my own. Right, but to take it to the next level, it was a multitude of things. I mean, I had loved kind of taking in certain video game content for a long time. I had never really been into Twitch. But then when I started getting into MW 2019 and I found the Drop Shot podcast, shout out to the Drop Shot boys. Once I really got into their podcast and I realized it really kind of like rekindled listening to them, how passionate they were about the game. It's like, I'm this passionate about Battlefield. I love Battlefield. It's like, that's the game I love. And I've realized like, I want to talk about it more. I would love to kind of, I didn't think of it. I'm the real boomer in the room, right? I mean, in fact, my birthday is today. I'm turning 46 today.
Oh, happy birthday, dude.
Damn it.
Heck yeah.
Happy birthday, you old fuck.
My old, yeah, seriously. I was reluctant to say it, trust me, but like, so it's like, I don't, you hear the term content creation, and that was like not a term I was really even particularly familiar with. It was just, I don't know, whatever I wanted to do a podcast, but that's kind of what it turned into. So I just thought, yeah, I want to talk about this game. I want to talk about more video games, and I'm really glad that I did do it because it's turned into exactly what I would hope it would be. Talking about the video game a lot, and that's why Evan kind of came in, was because I realized I wanted someone, this was going to work better having someone to bounce things off of, have different thoughts and talk and stuff. And him and I met through the Drop Shot community, and it turns out we're both, we both like Formula One. We're both motorsports nerds. We both love Gran Turismo. So he's a huge, and he loves Battlefield too. So it's like, yeah, it was just just kind of a thing of wanting to just talk about the video games and really meet more people who like this kind of stuff, which is what happened, meeting you, right? I mean, this whole thing has brought us together, and we've garnered a great community, through our Discord and everything. And so it's been great, really. I'm still really glad I started it, even though this game has turned out to be an absolute dumpster fire. But regardless, I'm still very happy that I started the podcast, and I'm very happy with the community and everything that we've kind of that we've garnered. So yeah,
I'm exactly the same way. Like I've been like, I'll have like roller coaster of emotions. I guess I'm pretty dramatic. My wife tells me, I don't know if she's right or not, but I'll be like really sad that like I had such high hopes for the games. I had all these content plans and everything, and that just crashed and burned. But I mean, I really am the same way. Like I look at it as a glass half full. I built a YouTube channel with a lot of awesome people that have stuck around. I met you guys. I even put that in my notes. Like meeting you guys and my community has been like the best thing that came from the game, because I don't want to play the game, but without it, I wouldn't have had like your guys' friendship and my community that I built, and be a part of your guys' community. And it's been pretty cool as far as that goes. But that's definitely the bright spot of the game for me. If you guys want to, I put the links to their Twitch in the description, as well as their Twitter handles if you guys want to give them a follow. And then I sent a link to the podcast on iTunes. So if you guys want to check out their podcast, it's super awesome. It's just like this, like guys sitting around having a beer talking about video games. It's a ton of fun to listen to and hang out with them. If you want to interact with them, They stream it on Dubfire33's Twitch on Thursday evenings. So you can go check out that if you want to watch the VOD. I prefer obviously like video content. So like I go watch their Twitch VOD and watch it on Twitch so I can see the video and so I can see their beautiful, stunning faces.
I remember you like telling me that, and I thought, well, and it makes sense. Whether you prefer video content but also too, like I think the interesting thing about podcasts too is like it is a bit of a medium that like you kind of have to have time for, right? Like you, and I kind of have that, and I think Evan kind of has that sort of time for it too. Sometimes my work situation allows me to like just have a speaker in front of me while I'm working and listen to a podcast, right? So it's yeah, but I still thought, but I figured someone like you, yeah, I figured you'd take in the pod, but yeah, it's fine too if you're taking in the VODs on Twitch, that's fine too, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like just watch them the whole time, but I just have them playing in the background, like while I'm working and stuff, or when I'm going to bed at night. But like when I'm working and like I hear a cool moment or something, and you guys are laughing, or I'll watch. I like to see your guys' reaction. So I like the video part of it, and that's part of the reason that this show is what it is. I feel like people can watch it back in VODs. For those of you guys here, I love you guys chatting. That's why chat is on the screen, because I want you guys to be a part of the show. I want this to be something people can go back and watch. And there's our first Russian sex bot. Get him, sad balls. Get him out of here.
Seriously, that's that much of a problem.
I say that, dude, as I say that, people like the bots come in and start spamming, but whatever, they count as a view and they up the chat rate, I guess. So
analytics, right?
Whatever, but yeah, that's why I mean, your guys' show kind of got me thinking about doing this one, and this is my the result of me pivoting from Battlefield and trying to introduce like other content and stuff. So it's here we are.
Yeah.
So you guys, I did want to mention for those of you guys following, what are your like future plans with the podcast going forward?
Well, we, like I said, Evan and I haven't talked about it a ton yet. But I mean, we both know that we probably want to talk. We'll probably just sort of pivot to a more of a general kind of video game kind of discussion thing. But it will still it'll still focus on probably first person shooters, which if you pay any attention to Twitter, it's a pretty common theme on Twitter right now that first person shooter games are in about the worst state they've probably ever been in. Which, I mean, that's an opinion that differs depending on who you're talking to, obviously. But yeah, we're going to talk about it a little bit more. We, like I said, him and I haven't really talked about it, but we're definitely probably going to, we're both huge Gran Turismo nerds. So we're definitely going to be talking about that game for sure. So in terms of like, I'm not going to change the name of the podcast, or I've thought about that, but like, I don't think that's probably not the way to go. Right. That probably will, if you change the name and now the kind of people that were, watching it are they're not going to find it anymore, or they might not find the new one or whatever. Right. So it's like, but I mean, I might just make it like a name tweak, because right now the podcast is, the whole name of the podcast is The Objective, a Battlefield Podcast.
Yeah.
So I don't know, there might be a little name tweak in there or something. Yeah. So something like that, but I mean, Evan, when is March 4th, Gran Turismo 5 comes out, right?
Yeah, 7 comes out this Friday. I've got it preloaded on my PlayStation already. I'm gonna no life the fuck out of it.
I want to see you like in your living room on the coffee table with like a plastic steering wheel and just giving her with the steering wheel and like have a cup holder with a beer.
I told him, I know he needs to stream some of that.
I'm going to. I've got better than a plastic steering wheel. I've got a full sim setup, like right there.
The real deal. The
Mhm.
real deal. Dang.
Yeah.
Is that game going to be VR ever? Like I've seen it's probably too graphic intensive, but
it might.
Like so PlayStation VR.
Sport. Yeah, the Sport had VR, but it was super limited on the PS4. The PS VR 2 comes out supposedly later this year, so it will probably be in an update, because they update their game with content a lot, which is cool.
Yeah.
Wait, what? That's a
Yeah,
thing.
I know.
Are you
Wild, right?
crazy?
Huh?
So yeah, that actually is like perfect a segue, if you will, into what I was going to talk about next with Battlefield. Like, so I guess the community is hyped about a scoreboard maybe this week. That's where we're at now.
Yeah.
They talked about there possibly being a scoreboard week. So, yeah, I was gonna.
Okay, this week. See, I haven't really kept up on a ton of the patch notes stuff. I've
So-
seen some news.
So I
They're
did.
talking about the possibility of it being like in what, like kind of like with the like the weekly update or whatever with the content that they
Yeah.
drop or whatever weekly.
So shout out to my amazing producer, who is stunning and handsome. I have the tweet pulled up here to pull up on the screen, and yeah. So he said, Part Welsh Freeman, the community manager, said someone asked about it, and I did a video like. So they basically delayed the feedback loop thing without even like really telling us. They said that they would, in their last blog, they said they were going to tell us their new feedback loop for map feedback in February. Today was the last day of February, and like it didn't even come. They just casually said it's going to be Wednesday now. So like they're just like like it just seems so unprofessional just to blow past deadlines and not even like make an official announcement or anything. But someone asked about when the next like 3.3 update is, and that's the one with the scoreboard and stuff. And he said final review of the patch happens overnight with published this week if we go ahead. If not, it'll look like we'll provide a clear vision of when it's due, when we're happy with the best date. If our patch is going out this week, it will be Thursday. So we'll have patch notes and a blog on Wednesday. So like the community manager is saying we might have a patch. Like they don't even know if they're going to have the patch for sure. And it's like 2 days out. Like I'm so confused because like no other shooters do this. Like it's like when the patch is ready, they announce it and it comes out. Like I don't know. What do you do with that? So
Man, I don't even know if I fucking care about the scoreboard and this shit. Honestly, fix some maps, fix the game in general. Just delay all of this stuff until early summer, whatever that means.
Dude,
and let us come back and kind of experience everything all at once. But,
yeah, I honestly caught myself doing that when they first did the scoreboard thing. And they tweeted like the first mock-up and they said it's the first iteration and they're going to keep updating it. And at first I was like, oh sweet, that actually looks pretty good. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's 2 months after launch of a live service game and I legit just got hyped for a scoreboard that's supposed to be done in the game at the beginning. Like,
I know. Yeah.
What have they conditioned us to get excited for? Like,
they did. Seriously, and they kind of did, because we talked about this last podcast. Like the lead up to the game was so much talk about the content. There we go. A little pour. Let's soften things up here a little bit, because it's gonna get rough here.
A little lubrication.
I mean, yeah, really. Because there was plenty of talk about content, battle passes, additional maps, specialists, all this stuff, right? And it's like, and now nothing, just absolute crickets, dude. And it's an incredible disappointment, because, and the other thing that sort of conditioned us, but of course, the game was in such a bad state when it released. So, but the flurry of updates, was encouraging. It's like, wow, look at this flurry of updates, making sure that getting the game in a better state. Okay, cool. It's like, so that kind of conditioned us also. And then just the floor just fucking falls right out, and now nothing. And I mean, I don't want to give. At least there's some communication coming from them about what's going on. I'll give them that. But it's like, you're right. It's like, just leave it. Just leave the communication until you've got like something actually substantive to tell us. Like you're saying, it's like none of this. Oh, I don't know when we'll be ready. No, just look. Part Welsh he's been a community manager for a long time, and I mean, I get they're really behind the 8 ball with this game, but it's just like, I feel like you should keep the communication to substantive, positive stuff coming from you guys, because the community out here is not having any of this shit.
Yeah. And I just thought it was just crazy that a AAA studio handled the communication this way, where someone said, hey, in your last blog you said this was coming in February and February is over. Oh yeah, well, about that, like, why do we have to ask you like why you missed an update, like why you missed a deadline?
That's it's a good point.
It's so weird. But so, and then Evan, what do you think of that, like that whole feedback loop thing? Like, it seems weird to me, like the community had to help them design a scoreboard and now we have to help them design maps. Like, is that me just being bitter?
Maybe a little, but at the same time, I think they're kind of banking on people just kind of forgetting about this game, at least until season 1, and they drop huge changes. Because let's be real, we all know the player numbers are dog shit. I know Steam is only a portion of the player base in all reality, but you get at least a little bit of a representation, because like Origin isn't going to release their numbers, Xbox doesn't give solid numbers, same thing with PlayStation. So I'm thinking they're really just kind of waiting it out, and they're going to be like, oh hey, here's all this stuff that we've changed and updated, and all kinds of balance changes, and the bolt makes noise from further than 3 feet away from you as it runs your ass over. And just like all this other shit. I think they're just kind of waiting for a big update, and they're working on this stuff in the background, but they don't really want to talk about it. They just want to wait until they've got something substantial to show the community, or they're already starting on the next game and the interns are working on this one. It's one of those two.
Yeah, I can see that. The future is going to be very interesting and pivotal for Battlefield. I feel like we said that before Battlefield 2042 came out. We're like, after Battlefield 5, this has to be a good one, and the franchise is dead. And now we're like, man, they better get this turned around or the franchise is dead. And it's like, at what point do we stick a fork in it, man? I don't know. I feel like there's always a possibility for a Battlefield game to be successful because they do have a big name and they have a storied history and they have EA behind them. So if they did build a good game, like, people would get behind it and find it, and it would grow and do well. I don't think it'll ever be truly dead unless they stop making them. There's always like that chance that they make a good one.
Right.
But, and to me, I was going to get your guys' opinion on this, because to me, the formula for a good Battlefield is pretty simple and obvious. And I feel like it's one of the few things. I have the Google Trends pulled up for the search volume. You guys can see it. It's like really sad if you make Battlefield content. I've never seen anything like that, and I've studied a lot of like trends and searches for video stuff. But yeah. So anyway, I feel like one of the few things the community is united on is like what they wanted in the next Battlefield game. It seems like everybody wanted the same things. I was gonna get your guys' opinion on what you thought like the perfect Battlefield game would be, and see how I think it adds up
first.
Yeah.
So to me, the perfect Battlefield game would be the map design and gunplay of 4, the immersion of atmosphere of 1, and the movement of 5. I do like the vehicles in this game. The little bit I've used them. Well, the tanks. I can't fly to save my life, but you really kind of have to hit at least good gameplay, and I like the immersion aspect. I know it's not always the best, and I say that, but like I don't like games like Insurgency all that much, or Hell Let Loose. I know they're very immersive and they're very hardcore, and the hardcore part is what I'm not the biggest fan of. I would like to maybe see the person that's shooting at me before I just drop dead on the ground. I'd like to have an idea of where I'm getting shot from.
Yeah, and I think that's why Battlefield 1 was so awesome and unique, because it had a super awesome atmosphere, like a hardcore atmosphere, but still had the arcade gameplay. Like, you could still run around and be crazy and throw nades, and you had a slow enough time to kill, you could do stuff. And that's why I think Battlefield 1 was super cool, because it had like super hardcore immersion. It felt like it sounded like war and looked like war, but it still was like arcadey Battlefield. What about you, Dub? What do you think it should have been?
It's a good question, and now that I hadn't really like considered that, like when we were even like, what should it be? Like, what would the perfect Battlefield game be? Because I was just, I had said this a lot. I was really ready for like something new, you know, something really kind of out of the box for Battlefield, but not this far out of the box. Obviously, this is I don't know what this is. This is a wet paper bag, right? I don't even know what they gave us, but
yeah, it's weird.
But like but if to frame it sort of like Evan did, if I had to say like, to me, like I always say, the pinnacle of the game for me is still like 3 and 4. Some of the best maps are in 3. Some of the best maps are one of my you know, I know that not all the 4 maps are some of the most popular, but Zavad 311 I still think is one of the greatest Battlefield maps ever. It's an excellent map. And there's some really fun ones in 4, Parasail Storm, Hainan Resort. And some of the ones in the expansion are pretty fun too. So like Operation Metro, Meat Locker, right? You know, and yeah, Firestorm, Caspian Border, right, from 3. So like that map design, right, with the movement and the gunplay that they came up with 2042. Because if there is one plus, no pun intended, plus system, right? If there is one plus to 2042, it is the plus system, which I really like. And hey, don't scoff at me. You're the one with the joke about the Swiss flag on your feet. I saw that.
True, you saw that? All right, I didn't.
So you know, the movement and the gunplay of this game are great. I like it. I don't look Battlefield boomers who complain it's too much like COD. Sorry. And just keep playing Battlefield 4 and just keep playing with the same Battlefield 4 movement that you like all, you know, your entire gamer life, whatever. I think it's great. I like the movement and I like the gunplay. So the movement and the gunplay in this game, I like that map design that they had for like 3 and 4, that kind of imagination. And I like the vehicle loadouts from 4 the most. I liked the way the vehicle loadouts worked. I liked the vehicles the most from 4. The variety you had with the different factions. But I'd also but like I'm also a specialist. I'm on the side of the specialists. I really kind of like it. I don't mind that the classes aren't here. That's the broadcast, boys. Thanks for coming,
guys. Thanks for being here. It's been fun. We ran out of time for the chat Q&A. I'm so sorry we had to cut this one short. We'll catch you next week, maybe. I didn't
realize that you were like so anti-specialist. I know most people don't like it, but I don't know. To me, like I said, when I talk about how I was looking for something new, like that's something new. And I don't really miss the classes too much. I really don't. I mean, they did it in 4 pretty well, you know, given the variety of weapons that every class could use a DMR, shotgun, or carbine, right? And then you had only the one class of weapon specific to the 4 classes, right? So, but I like the imagination, because if you played 2142 was very imaginative as well in terms of the way they did the weapons and the way they did. There were like 3 different ways you could do like your med kit and stuff, and you know, just it actually had a really comprehensive, really pretty robust kind of class system in 2142. So yeah, I guess if I had to say that what I was expecting, I guess that's what I would have been hoping for, and we didn't get nothing close to that at all. Yeah, obviously. So,
I think that we have liftoff over there.
Arm.
You got to put some counterweights on that thing, dude. You could put a hole in your ceiling. Dude. Holy shit. Don't let it take your eye out. Like, at least you got glasses on. Jeez, man.
Yeah, no kidding, man.
No, I don't think I inherently hate specialists. I think they just were done poorly. I love Rainbow Six Siege, and that game revolves around the operators.
Right.
I don't know, the one-liners and stuff completely break immersion for me, and it really seems like a sad attempt to be Apex Legends or Call of Duty or Fortnite.
I'm not going to disagree with that take at all. No, I can definitely get behind that part of the take for sure.
I don't really like, if it was up to me, I would have the operators be like, you could pick one that you wanted to look like and dress them up and have a little bit of identity, but they are inherently just soldiers on the battlefield. Like, you're a part of a big machine, you're out there, you're trying to do what you can to help your country or your faction, right. And that's you. I really like having the different ethnicities and genders and representing different groups, because I think it's really cool when you can pick a character that you kind of identify with, and then you can kind of role play in your head that you're in the game, like you're in the battlefield. And then if they wanted to have like those crazy cool gadgets, just put those gadgets in a class. So you have like maybe a first and a secondary gadget, and then you have like a special, and like all those gadgets fit in a special slot, and then you could mix and match who you wanted to look like. You could do their clothes. World War III absolutely destroyed it, knocked it out of the park with their customization, what you can do. And I just think it would be cool to be a soldier with a lot of customization that you can make look like yourself if you want to, or however you want to look on the battlefield. And that's you. And you're in this big machine, this big war machine, and you're doing what you can. Like, that's what I would have hoped for. Like, still, if they wanted to keep, not necessarily the cheesy one-liners, but if they wanted to keep some lore and story, I think that would have been great. But just keep it grounded. Like, the stuff that they say and the stuff that the specialists do, I feel so out of place compared to the concept art and the trailers we got beforehand. Like, it makes no sense. Like,
it doesn't make any sense. And they did try to balance it. Because, Grandma Falk, she never says anything particularly out of place. Grandma Falk says kind of like, very somewhat reserved things and somewhat
spectacular.
Apropos stuff, and Irish does as well, right? Irish says very apropos stuff about like, hey, we still got work to do and all that, and they tried to balance it, but no, I'm not out of line with that take at all. It does feel like an Apex Legends ripoff for sure. But they also too were supposed to. I think it's pretty clear that they were meant. This whole game was meant to really be Hazard Zone. I feel like, you know what I mean. I think it was meant to be Hazard Zone, and I feel like we may find out years down the road that they pivoted away from it a lot later than they ever told us. I really feel like they may have, and then tried to shoehorn a Battlefield game into what they started.
Yeah, you guys were talking about that. Both of you guys were talking about that on your guys' most recent podcast, and I thought that was really interesting, because in my head, I took it a step further, like conspiracy theory. Like, maybe they started out making Hazard Zone. The maps lend themselves to that. The specialists play more into that. They got Hazard Zone to where it is now, and then they said, we got to make this multiplayer. Hazard Zone stopped, fairly unfinished, and then they cobbled together multiplayer. Like, that kind of makes sense, right? Like, that's why Hazard Zone is pretty shallow, because that's how far they got. And then but I don't know. That's just me making stuff up in my old brain while I'm sitting on the toilet. So I don't know. But I don't even know if that's even possible.
Yeah.
No, I would tend to agree with you, because even the inclusion of Portal seems pretty half-baked along with every other mode in this game. Like, they didn't. I think they went, okay, we're going to do this Hazard Zone game and we'll do Portal for the people that aren't real big on that. And they were like, oh, wait, maybe we should do something new to try and attract some of the people we lost with 5 and 1 and bring them back into a modern game. And then we got the shit show that is All Out Warfare with 128 players, and I'm getting ran over by a bolt every 69 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't know, something weird happened, and like some of the stuff, it's like, at the end of the day, my biggest thing was like, so everyone's favorite EA studio head, Laura Miele, we all shout out her, she's so honest and amazing. She said, like, in their internal thing, the whole blame Halo thing, that really was like what people keyed in on, because we were all like, I can't believe you just said that. But the other stuff she said was like super valid. And my whole take on this thing, I think I've been formulating in my old man brain over the last week is, okay, they had challenges with working from home. Valid. Like that would suck. Okay. They had challenges of a new engine, and that ties into working from home, a new engine that was hard to make changes. And that's what they had to do to get all those players. And they just had a ton of development stuff with the engine. Valid. Why wasn't it delayed? Like where she loses me is she says we thought it was ready and polished. No, you didn't. Like,
and that's a company, and Andy McNamara and what's his name, the CEO, or that it's like they got together and like this is our take and this is our standing line. Yeah, that's their narrative. Like we thought we had an experience that was ready to be put in players' hands. Bullshit. If you either any three of you remotely consider yourself any kind of real gamer, there's no way you thought this was ready. No way. You're lying. You're bald-faced liars. You're lying right to our face. Fine, you gotta save the face somehow, right? But I mean, they're lying. There's no question. No gamer would have ever got a hold of this and thought to themselves. I was trying to say, I kind of, in hindsight, I wish I would have switched our narrative up a little bit when the beta came out, because that was what I call. I worked for software companies. I worked for a few different software companies back in the day. I was never a software engineer. I could never get the hang of coding. Coding's hard, actually.
I believe that.
It's you've got to really kind of have the brain for logic and coding and stuff. But I did testing and QA and quality assurance testing for a couple of different software companies. So I was very ensconced in the whole process, and it's not an easy process. But like, there's no question, like there's no way. And so I know it was hard to test this stuff, and I know it was hard to like really get a feel for this stuff. But what we would have called something like that beta that was released, we would have called that an internal beta. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, it was this alpha." Well, it probably was. It's basically the alpha that's been given to the whole team. Like, okay, we've got our beta, but it's an internal beta, which means there's a ton more work that needs to be done to it. There's still a ton more work, because there is such a thing as a public beta. We're familiar with public betas. Didn't Vanguard have a public beta? Was it Vanguard? Right. Vanguard had a public beta, right?
Most games do.
That's a public beta, a game that is 95% there.
Yeah, I feel like that makes sense to me, because like a public beta is something that you have all the bugs fixed that you know about, and then you put it out to a larger audience to find the stuff that's a little bit more nuanced and
more exactly right. And I kind of wish I really wish I would have hammered a little bit more like that this game should not be released. Like, not that it would have made a difference, obviously, because shareholders and all that shit. But it's like, they never should have. This game, we should not even have this game right now. Electronic Arts absolutely should have made the decision that this game not be released until this coming summer.
And I'm sure that's a conscious decision they made. Like, how much money are we going to make if we just release this thing based off marketing, not showing a bunch of gameplay and really cool trailers? Or how much will we do if we actually make it take another year? It needed another year, and honestly I feel like it could have succeeded with another year. A lot of the bugs just suck, and those would have been taken care of. Maybe they could have had time for some more like internal play tests and feedback from maybe content creators that would have liked a little bit more traditional class system, and a way to maybe compromise with the specialists so they could still do their live service. And then Hazard Zone has a really cool like base to it, but that's all it is. It's a skeleton of a game mode. And if that would have got fleshed out with more if that would have got fleshed out with like a reason to play it, like a reason to chase something and keep going, then it would have been a pretty cool game. And if they would have had like, I mean, I see a lot of people still frustrated about Portal XP. Like, I don't know how that wasn't sorted out either, and that could have been figured out ahead of time. And it's just, and then they would have had time. The map team would have had time to finish the maps. I don't think the maps are finished. Like, to me, like if you go inside buildings and they're just empty squares all the time, and the lighting is crazy, like it's so bad. I don't know. So
that's actually, that's a thought I hadn't really had before, that the buildings aren't finished, and they definitely didn't. I mean, they are. they took quite the departure too from from all the previous buildings. They definitely like didn't rehash like Battlefield 4 buildings necessarily. They fit the time a little bit more. They look like they're buildings that would exist in, say 2042. Is it cool if I respond to chat?
Yeah,
Trash, you don't mind.
yeah,
This is a
no,
live
that's
show.
cool. And
Guys,
we'll definitely
just-
just to let everyone know, we'll definitely also take some time at the end if you guys want to stick around to talk with chat for a little bit at the end. So, but yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Well, because you were talking about Hazard Zone and K Bulletin was talking about Hazard Zone, and we've got a guy in our community. This just in. He's a Hazard Zone Chad, and he loves playing it, and it's like you're saying. And he was saying there is this like kind of core group of people that are like really into it, and they really like playing it. And I played it with it. We played it one night, and I can see it because it's got the battle royale sort of tension feel to it. It's got the high stakes feel to it. You're being hunted down by other players, and you want to extract first. You want to survive so you can extract and all that stuff. Even though there's nothing to gain in Hazard Zone,
Right.
the way you could be gaining something in say Tarkov or say Warzone, right? But I mean, it's like that gameplay is there. That tension of the battle royale is there, and I can see, So yeah.
Yep. I just needed more time. Like if there was like a currency and like maybe like a store where you could buy stuff that you could wear on the battlefield and show people that like you kicked ass in Hazard Zone and
right.
Yeah, I don't know. It just needed a reason.
There's like what the player cards. They do have like player cards that you will earn, but there's only one set of player cards for Hazard Zone. Right. And then there's like a few other. Yeah. It's like there's so little. Yeah. There's just so little content in this game. So little. And it's a bummer because the content that the way they're doing the content, I think it's pretty cool. I think the player card's pretty neat. It's a lot bigger than like just like, your sort of a rectangular emblem in Call of Duty. They're a little bit more detailed. So you're going to get more artwork on there. You can put your pins on there and you get the different titles. It's like they worked out a good little sort of skeleton, like you say, if you will, for it. There's not enough of it. There's the heart next to nothing, and that's the depressing part. It's like, why I got it all now. I pretty much got it all, and it's like, and at this point, oh my gosh, I mean, like, hey, more power to the people out there still playing, and I see people posting on Twitter all the time, like. And I mean, I don't mean to just be disparaging towards them because if you're liking the game, fine. But like they're posting that they, they got like the master, and it's like, okay, so you've killed a lot of people. Yeah, you didn't really do it. You didn't have to like do this kind. You didn't have to do a situation where you've got to kill so many people with this gun with this attachment. Which is like, okay, that's grindy stuff that like you get with Call of Duty and say Destiny or whatever. But I mean, it's like it's something more than what we've got in this game.
Yeah, it's weird to have like a top tier skin and all you do is just shoot people. Like you just play the game a long time and you're gonna get it if you just play the game for a long time.
You just play the game in enough time enough time, exactly.
I have had that too, and I definitely want to make that clear that if you enjoy the game, then more power to you. That's awesome. Like I'm not gonna say you're wrong. Like you're free people. You like what you want to like, and if you're liking the game, that's great. So like, yeah, I know a lot of people get defensive. Like someone's like, I'm enjoying the game and having fun. Like why it's bro, and they just list all the stuff they hate about it. It's like it's okay. It's okay. I mean, believe it or not, guys, it is okay to have differing opinions, and the world will still keep turning. Like. It's okay.
Oh, of course, yeah. and speaking of that, one of the things I bring up all the time is because like I didn't really play BF5. Evan was like in BF5 from the start, and like he's said a lot. I mean, like this is even worse, right? The kind of content that is in this game now. This is even in a worse spot than 5 was when it started off, right, dude?
Yeah. 5 was pretty bad at launch. But there was more there. There was more weapons. There was more vehicles. The maps had destruction. Like how Battlefield has been founded around forever now. And this game doesn't have any of that. The only thing I can really think of positive for 2042 versus 5 is they haven't introduced the same level of bugs with updates. The one I always
Oh
go
yeah.
back to with 5 was it was like 3 months after launch, and there was a bug where there was a constant airplane noise. Somebody would get in a plane and fly overhead, and there was an airplane
Yeah,
for the rest of the fucking match.
I forgot
Oh
about
my
that.
god, it was so bad. And as an infantry player, you could do almost nothing against planes at that point. The Fliegerfaust wasn't in the game. AA guns did fuck all against planes.
Fliegerfaust wasn't in the game from the start.
No,
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 it
that
came
came with the
later.
Pacific
Wow,
update.
what
That
a-
was like 2
nice.
years.
Nice, please.
Yeah.
That's the turning point of the game when I started to like it. The Pacific and the Fliegerfaust came out, minus the 2 times they broke the TTK. Like that
Yes.
was confusing, and I stopped playing. But then when they put it back, like that would be so in the earnings call when Andrew Wilson is like, DICE has a great history of like fixing games and listening to the community, which I felt like was like a low-key dig. But I'm like, I would argue like in Battlefield 5, people were like, man, the Pacific's great, and then they broke the TTK, and like it was terrible to play. It didn't feel good at all. Everyone quit playing. Everyone
Yes.
complained about it. DICE came back and said, we have stats that new players like this better. We have a lot of data that you guys can't see, so trust me, this is what you like. And they went through that cycle twice. They put it back, and then like a couple months later, they broke it again, and then they had to go back, and then they put it back, and like now where it's at, it's not as good as before the first time, but where it's at now, it's definitely playable. And Battlefield 5 is my favorite mechanically of the Battlefields. I'm not gonna say like gun balance and like the random recoil is atrocious, and the attrition system should have never been put in Battlefield, but in my opinion. But the movement is my favorite. Like I don't know why they took out like leaning. They took that out. They took out like going prone on your back. They took out crouch sprinting. Like it sounds silly, but I would actually use like crouch sprint to like sneak up on a tank. Like if you're in a little ditch or below a wall, I would crouch and sprint. Like
Yeah.
I don't know why they like. It's like they went backwards, but I don't know. I don't want to harp on Battlefield like too long because like we've all covered that. But I definitely wanted to get your guys' opinions. I don't know if you have any final thoughts, either one of you guys, before we move on to your favorite game, Call of Duty.
Evan.
Overall, I don't hate 2042 the way I hate 5. I think 5 got ruined for me because it's a World War II game. I've been playing them for 20 years. I'm done with World War II. If it's a single player game with a cool story, okay, sure. I know we're going to go fight the Germans and the Japanese, whatever. But 5 burned my ass so bad with the updates that broke shit. The airplane noises, constant end of round music, and the first sector of breakthrough.
The scoreboard still doesn't work at the end.
Yeah. Just like dumb little shit like that is what really killed 5 for me. It's an okay game. I don't like World War II that much, unless if it's very specialized, Hell Let Loose, Sniper Elite, or a couple of World War II era games that I like. But like Battlefield 5 I was done with World War II. It was nice to go back to something on the ground as opposed to the Call of Duties that have been releasing up to that point, jetpacks and running on walls and fish AI or whatever the fuck they did for a long time.
Yeah.
But I like being in a modern setting, and I can still sit down on a Friday or Saturday night with the boys in 2042, and we don't take it seriously. You know, we're having some drinks, we're bullshitting, and we might go Sniper Squad, and we're just gonna sit back, and one of us will be Angel, and one of us will be Falc, and we'll just keep each other alive, or
Yeah.
we'll go hunt helicopters for an entire match and not really do anything to help the team. But
Right.
there's more fun to be had because I feel like it's a little bit more of a sandbox than 5 was, just based on the time period. You've got more technology and more things you can do to kind of create your own fun, even if the game is broken.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
shout out Sad Balls. That's the other thing I forgot. They didn't have a. Thanks for modding, by the way, man. They didn't have a team balancer. So yeah, servers would always die. Like one team would start to dominate, and then people on the losing team would leave, and then people would come in and it'd put them on the team with less players, which would be getting their butt kicked, and they would leave, and then they would just
I remember seeing that in 5, and it was like, what the f is going on here? What happened with this game?
But I just think to put the cherry on top for me is like, I think the movement in that game is the best of any arcade shooter I've ever played. Like the leaning is tasteful. Like you can't jiggle peek and like use desync to like one tap somebody. There's a cooldown on it, so like you can lean if you really need to lean. Like if you need to lean and you know somebody's coming, or you want to peek with your sniper rifle, if you start to like try to jiggle peek, it has a cooldown, and pretty soon like it's like this, and then slowly and it stops. Same with the sliding. Like in Call of Duty, you slide, and like sliding is a way to get around the map, like slide canceling, so you can tack sprint again, and it's just annoying. Right. In for an old man. In Battlefield 5, like you could slide once, and then there was like a cooldown. So like if I needed to get out of trouble, like if I was getting hit and out of ammo, I could slide and reload and get behind cover. And then I used it when I needed it. It wasn't a way to get around the map. Like I don't know. I just thought Battlefield 5's movement feels so good to me. My soldier can do what I want him to do, like how I feel like he should be able to move, like, and follows my brain, and it just feels good to me. But I feel like 2042 was such a step back with movement.
Yes.
But okay, I disagree a little bit. I'll give you a little step back, yeah, because losing the backwards prone, I was never like a super big fan of that, but whatever. But definitely missing the crouch sprinting and the leaning for sure. But I don't know, maybe it's because we're gonna segue into Call of Duty here. So I don't know. I really liked the Modern Warfare 2019 movement, and 2042. They kind of went for that feel, and they kind of did it in it. And I don't know. I like the way it plays, but that's just me. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, and then the frame rate and all. That's what makes you mad too. I go back and play 5, and I've been playing it more and more, and 1, and it's like this game looks better, and I have twice as many frames, like minimum.
Smooth.
Like how did this happen? So confusing.
Yeah.
And I'm scared because they said, what I'm scared about is they said in their original like release blog, like the very first blog they did after release, it was right before. Because I made a video about there not being any VoIP. I thought that was a big deal. Like you're gonna have a crossplay game where people can't talk to each other in like Hazard Zone. I don't know exactly what it's gonna be like, but I know people are gonna want to talk to each other, and you don't have that in a crossplay game. I made a video about how I thought that was horrible, but they said it's coming as soon as possible, very soon after launch, and it's still like we don't know. So So then beyond that, on the even longer timeline, they said the performance issues, which really I hate that. Like I turned into a PC snob with a lot of frames, and my eyes got used to it. Like I hate the frame dips and the low frames and stuff. And that they said they're looking into that to see how they're going to move forward, and that just to me is like they're not looking at that right now. They're not even like
but they better be, because that's one of the more frustrating things for me too, is like I don't know if anyone else experiences this, but like I like when I fire up a game for a good 5 minutes, the game stutters like hell when I spawn in, and it seems like it's trying to get the assets. It's like it's still loading. I'm in the game, but it's still loading all the assets or something, because for like 5 minutes I'll get this crazy stutter. Finally, after about 5 minutes, it'll go away and things will sort of smooth out. But there's still the optimization in this game is terrible too. That's another, like, one of the biggest problems, and that's one of the things that's most frustrating for me. If you want, we can cap me off here talking about 2042. For me, one of the most frustrating things is how poorly optimized the game is. Just horrible optimization. Like I said, whether it's this kind of issue where you're getting this terrible stuttering, the frame rate is inconsistent, the sound, none of the, and even just optimized in the terms of like animation and stuff. Have you noticed how like if you don't pick a vehicle right, you see those helicopters? There's like sort of that like little cutscene of the helicopters flying in.
Yeah.
It's so rudimentarily done. That's not a word. Rudimentarily, I know, but whatever. The both helicopters are literally like they're pasted right next to each other. There's like they don't even have any kind of wobble. They just kind of like they're on this like rail and they like land. It looks so like it just looks so bland the way it's done. It's like and that's throughout the game. It's so poorly optimized, and it's in they yeah, and I get it because a, a lot of unfamiliarity amongst a lot of the new employees with the Frostbite engine, and the Frostbite engine being notoriously difficult to work with and stuff like that. So that's probably a big part of it, but that's still one of the most frustrating things for me in the game.
For sure. And I want to let everyone know that rudimentarily is now a word. So I mean, we just made it official, so it's a word now. If you say it,
now,
people know what it means. I feel like it's a word. Like,
I said it on the internet, so it's
I
a
mean,
word
it's on
now.
the internet, so that's pretty
right.
much written in stone. But yeah, no worries about talking too long. I mean, I don't have anywhere to be, so I just want to be cognizant of your guys' time, not take too much of it, but because this show stinks. Then we'll go to we can talk about Call of Duty. If you guys any more closing thoughts on Battlefield, or are we good? I think we've
no, well, just one more. Just like I'm 97% sure that this game is going to be anthemed, as we've been calling it. Did you get into? Did you get like hyped about Anthem at all? Was it something that was on your radar, Crash?
Yeah, a little bit. Like just because it looks so cool. Like it was like a new IP. The graphics were amazing. That sound familiar. The trailers looked crazy. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, right, exactly. And but it was like this is a very similar situation. You know, BioWare, laid an egg with Andromeda, right? And so they wanted to get into the looter shooter thing because like your Destiny and Borderlands, Borderlands were the thing, right? And it's very similar kind of thing. Didn't have a pandemic, but like it, they bad sense of direction for what they wanted to do with the game. They had like a midway complete change in like the plot and the storyline that they wanted to have and stuff like that. And unfortunately, like a very similar thing happened to DICE, but like because of the pandemic and stuff. And then of course we heard the different directives coming down from EA about making a battle royale and all this stuff. So I mean, and in the end, Electronic Arts made the decision to go for the cash grab, and it was released too early. And I think this was too big of a misstep. And I think they're like OSB has said, like they're basically doing what the minimum amount they're legally obligated, right, to kind of to provide for the game for the foreseeable future. And I'm 97% sure that like this Battlefield 2042 is going to go down as one of the biggest flops ever. If they turn this thing around in June and it becomes a more playable game, and we can talk about it, and it really grabs people's attention more, this is gonna be the biggest flop in games maybe ever, or it's gonna be the biggest turnaround. There's no middle ground for this right now. That's what it is.
I'm kind of 80-20 on that right now, but yeah, I've and that's why I'm still covering it, honestly. And I've said that in videos, like covering, like it's just so interesting to me what they're gonna do, like how I don't feel like playing the game and making content about the game itself like I had planned. I had tons of plans, but honestly, like still covering like what they're gonna do like financially and as a company with this game is so interesting to me. So I definitely want to keep talking about that. OSB, what do you think like the future looks like for this game? Like where's it at like a year from now? What do you think they're gonna do?
I'm kind of with Dub. I think they're going to do what they legally have to from the deluxe, right? Deluxe, whatever the highest pre-order was with the year season pass. And they're going to cancel support for the game, and in an ideal world, they'll already have started on the next game, maybe taking the basis of this and kind of refining it. They're either going to do that or Battlefield is done and it'll become an Overwatch or a CS:GO,
Ugh, God.
Apex Legends type of game.
Yeah.
It's so hard to predict the future, especially
Pain.
when something like this has gone as poorly as it has. Like,
Yeah.
kind of to bring it back to Mass Effect Andromeda, there was supposed to be a second game in that series, and it was received so poorly that BioWare stopped on it, and they're working on Mass Effect 4.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if that came from BioWare or from EA. My money's on EA because they want the money.
Yeah, I feel like the future is like a good news, bad news kind of thing. Like the good news is I don't think they're gonna totally kill Battlefield like as a franchise because they made all those new hires, right? Like they brought on Vince, they brought on Leto, they brought on Rebecca Kutas from Ubisoft to run DICE and to move Battlefield forward. So I don't think so. I feel like the bad news is like the heartbreak. And I tweeted this today. Like I tweeted a meme of like the they push we push versus like how cool that was in Battlefield 1 like in the beginning. Like that got me so hyped, like let's go. And then to don't be sad, this is how it works out sometimes. Like I feel like the bad news of this is I might not be the target audience for Battlefield anymore, and
We're not.
that sucks. I don't think they're gonna keep making Battlefield stuff because the IP was too big, but I'm scared that it's not going to look like the Battlefield that we love. So
Yeah.
No, and that's painful to think about, man, for sure.
So we're all like rooting for Farm 51 to make World War III badass, but I hope somebody sees a gap in the market and makes something like that. They're the closest right now, I feel like, but it's there for somebody to do. But yeah, we can I don't know. I was gonna say we can lighten the mood and talk about Call of Duty, but I don't know if that would be the proper terminology for that, given that you guys are a Battlefield podcast. But we'll talk about COD a little bit because I thought
I don't mind at all.
This happened after the just right after last week's show, and it was crazy to me, like from an industry standpoint, that Jason Schreier and Bloomberg reported that there will be no Call of Duty in 2023. So we're going to get Modern Warfare Roman numeral 2 allegedly this year. This year's Call of Duty is still coming out, and no barking. And we are also, and then that's going to be supported for 2 years. The Treyarch's game is going to be held off for a year. There's no new Call of Duty in 2023. So I just think that's really interesting because it's the first time, and I think they said 18 years that there's not a new COD. So I'm going to be interested to see how the core Call of Duty community gets along with the same game for 2 years. And also, there's kind of a gap in the AAA space right there. Because, you know, October, November of every single year, that's all people are talking about is the new COD. And it's going to be kind of weird and a little bit surreal that there's going to be a year with no Call of Duty. And I wonder if somebody's going to try to capitalize on that, whether it be Embark, if Battlefield tries to scrap their stuff and do something else, because we know Embark Studios, who we're going to talk about later, making Arc Raiders is a third-person PvE, but they're also making a first-person PvP game. And I wonder if they'll try to capitalize on no Call of Duty like that year, or World War III, or somebody will. I don't know. It's just interesting. Like it's a massive change to the landscape. What are your guys' opinion? Either one of you guys could take this. What are your guys' opinions on like a Call of Duty support? I feel like a lot of people have wanted to see that, what a Call of Duty looks like that's supported for a long time. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing for the franchise?
I think it's a good thing. It's hard to think of it as a bad thing. I guess unless you're like just some utter, COD stan who can't you're so used to this cycle now that you need your fix for the next game after a year. I don't know. It's hard to think of it as a bad thing. Given Infinity Ward kind of cleans its act up, Modern Warfare 2019 remake, was It was it was good. It was good enough to draw me in and draw in a lot of players. It's COD, obviously, but there were quite a few missteps, I thought, in the game, overall game itself and the multiplayer. It just, I still enjoyed playing it. But there was definitely some decisions they made. And it started before Infinity Ward May 2019. A lot of I don't want to get too, I might get a little bit too kind of broad here, but like just in terms of where first person shooter games are, right? It's like there's just so much talk about skill gap stuff. And that's where a lot of the direction the development takes is taking in AAA games, of course. It's not happening in like World War III or Sandstorm, right? So, but so I don't know, like Infinity Ward has got a little bit of sort of making up to do with some of the COD community, because not the entire COD community was really crazy about Modern Warfare 2019. So, but they seem to be the best developer for Warzone. Everything Treyarch or like Raven Software has done has kind of seemed to really be a lot of missteps. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I just got back into like Call of Duty really in 2019. I loved the original Modern Warfare 2, and then I never really played another Modern Warfare or Call of Duty game after that. Because I just got so into other games that I just sort of like kind of brushed it aside, and I never really came back. And then the thing that brought me in was Warzone. I really had like no intention of playing the Modern Warfare remake. And then when a free to play game came out, I was like, oh, hey, look at that, a free to play game, Call of Duty Battle Royale game. I was like, wow, that's really interesting. So I tried it out, and I was like, oh shit, this is actually pretty fun. And then they did the drug dealer thing. I don't know if you remember like the original screen, right? It was like a split, three-way split screen. The middle was Warzone, and like to the right was like, I think, the co-op or the store or whatever.
Mhm.
And it said, hey, look, buy. And then to the left was Call of Duty. And when you went there, it's like, hey, look at this, buy the game, and you get all this cool content to use in Warzone. And I was like, ooh, okay, you got me, I'll do it. And then
Yeah,
so
the
that's how I
marketing
kinda
was the marketing was
Oh god, yeah, the
insane.
marketing was nuts for the game. I know.
Yeah, it's
I
just
mean, it
perfect.
like I said, it didn't really pull me in with the original, but then the free to play game pulled me in, and I was like, okay, which is why I'm so to go back to Battlefield 24. It's so nuts that they didn't do that. Why
Yeah,
didn't you have a free to play element? People will always download a free fucking game. Come on,
yeah. I
and
think
then
probably
yeah.
because they didn't have a lot of confidence in it. I mean,
Well, right, yeah,
because
yeah,
if you put a free to play game or part of a game out, you want it to be really good to get people to buy
yeah,
the game and not the opposite. But yeah, at the same time, I was like, I thought in my lead up back in the day when I was making Battlefield 6 weekly videos,
yeah.
I was like, this game has to have crossplay. It has to have VoIP. It has to have a free to play high stakes game mode that gets other people in. And I'm just saying, like,
Right.
these are the things that Call of Duty showed a AAA shooter needs to like succeed and be successful. I feel like they wrote the blueprint for what to do. And I just remember when they said, right before launch, they said Hazard Zone is not going to be free to play. It seems like from the earnings calls that Andrew Wilson backtracked on that. There was
Yeah.
supposed to be like a free to play mode, and they backtracked on it. And it just, I don't know. It's when they said that, everybody was just like, oh, rip. Like it needed something, because
Mhm.
what are you against? You're against Apex Legends free to play. You're against Halo multiplayer's free to play, and you're against
Yep.
Call of Duty Warzone's free to play. And then it's
Crazy,
like, or
yeah.
I could spend $80 and play Battlefield. No one's
Right.
gonna do that. Like,
No, I know. And well, enough people pre-ordered the game. I think we talked about the numbers. The numbers are actually, the initial sales number for 2042 were actually pretty impressive. I think we talked about that before.
Yeah. The first week sales of 2042 was it was like the top 3 highest in the franchise's history. It was like
Yeah.
BF3, BF1, and then 2042, maybe 42 and 1 and switched. I don't remember. But they were up there, and then
Yeah.
well, we know how that went.
So, but I'm actually sorry. I was just gonna say I'm actually really excited about the next Call of Duty. Also, Evan and I have talked about this. He is too. I mean, it's Modern Warfare just because of the name. Because I loved the original Modern Warfare 2. So it's like, ooh, we're getting another Modern Warfare 2, man. It's like it's giving me
yeah.
the nostalgia feels, So it's like,
And if
I
you
mean,
look
and
at
Evan,
the
you were saying you're pretty stoked about it too, right?
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
I only like the Infinity Ward games. All the Black Ops games can suck me off. I fucking hate all of them.
Nice. Nice.
Uh the what was the other World War II game that Sledgehammer did? COD World War II.
yeah,
I actually liked that game. I know it had some
dude,
issues,
I thought that was the
but
worst one ever.
well, I liked it
Yeah.
because like I did not give a fuck about jetpacks and wall running and all this shit. And then they went back to boots on the ground.
Yeah, that was
So
the only thing that made me get that game, and then I hated it. Yeah. Ugh, I don't know. It is interesting. I feel like there's like a multitude of reasons I feel like they did this, and one of them is I think they learned, and if you look at the numbers, I think they learned that people really like a modern setting the most, and
yes.
they make so much
Mhm.
money on that on the microtransactions when people keep playing the games that this gives them 2 years to live in that universe to make microtransactions for a modern game, and
Yeah.
and it gives them 2 years to rake in on that. It's also going to be really good for Warzone. I think with Warzone 2, they came out like, and I the developers came out and said, hey man, we fucked up, like we did not build Warzone to add these other games to from the ground
No,
up,
yeah.
and like it didn't work, and they
No.
actually admitted that, so which was, I mean, a little
Did they really?
late.
Oh my! I never heard that. I never heard that that was the case.
Yeah, so they had
Oh, wow.
a big call with a bunch of media and larger Call of Duty content creators, and they just had like a town hall with developers, and they flat out said that verbatim, we fucked up. And
Really?
they said because people were upset with all the bugs and stuff when they introduced the other
Right.
games, and the balance is always there's so many guns from different engines and games to balance, like
It's such a
incredible.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
they said they had planned on so Warzone was just going to be a modern warfare thing, and then I feel like the Ural Mountains that leaked but didn't come to fruition was supposed to be like a Blackout 2 with the next Black Ops game. And then
Right.
World War II was gonna, well, what they did was that they ended up just Warzone was so popular, they ended up just merging that all together to keep Warzone going, and it wasn't built that way from the ground up to accept those things. And
Yeah.
they talked about all this. It was super cool.
Huh.
Like they said they screwed it up, and that's not going to be the case in the next game. And so they're going to build it with the 2, like it all kind of lines up with like the development cycle of they're going to have 2 years of the same Warzone 2, like engine, universe, guns, and weapons. They're not going to like try to combine eras of, you got Cold War, World War II, and modern all in one game. They're not doing that. They're like, that's the big reason that it felt broken.
Well, yeah. Okay. I never played Blackout, but it was essentially just a battle royale game, right?
Yeah.
Or was it?
Yeah.
But was it like classic battle royale? Like
Pretty much,
nothing. You don't start with anything, and you pick up ground loot and everything. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it was more classic BR than Warzone in a sense because there wasn't any loadouts.
Okay, well maybe what they'll do, I don't know, maybe they'll look at the because you're right, because they probably don't want to run into this problem again, right? So they obviously are giving themselves the cushion with the timing now, changing up the timing of the release of games. But in fact, maybe what they'll do is you'll have Warzone 2, which I'm super excited about. And then maybe they'll do a new Blackout when Treyarch gets their game out. Maybe they won't incorporate this into Warzone. Like, you're gonna have Warzone 2, and we're supporting this game. And then, hey, look, we got Treyarch got their shit together, and here's all new Blackout game to play right alongside. I don't know.
Unless it's gonna be a Tarkov Light. And I wanted to
Or Tarkov Light, which that's the other one that people love to talk about now, right? Yeah. Some AAA developer coming up with a Tarkov Light game, which is what Hazard Zone was going to be. Yeah. Oh, boy.
I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second, but I always wanted to get your opinion on that, OSP. That's kind of like the overarching question was, excuse me, are there any games or franchises that come to mind that you think could like capitalize on that? On like do you think Battlefield will try to like revamp and reboot so quickly to fill that gap of no Call of Duty? Do you see any game doing that?
At this point in time, no. There might be somebody like Embark or another smaller studio kind of working on something, and they go, oh shit, okay, Call of Duty's not releasing that year. We got to get in there. We got to fill that spot. But as far as anything AAA, I would be surprised. Maybe Ubisoft would drop Rainbow Six Siege 2, but given how what's the new one, Extraction? Given how that one was received, I know it's a huge departure from Siege, but
Right. Yeah, it is.
I don't really foresee any AAA studio releasing in that window unless if they're already working on it. Like, okay, we're just gonna delay this, not tell anybody. We're not going to announce it yet, and just kind of continuing to work on stuff. But I would be surprised if there's anything AAA going in there. It's probably going to be some indie teams or nothing. There might not just be any big shooters released in that time frame, and Warzone will just continue to dominate, which I hate.
I'm like completely spitballing here, and we've veered so far off of like news, but I'm drinking a lot of bourbon. What if that the unnamed studio that Marcus Leto, he's the guy that wrote the original Halo stories. What if they do like a single player only Battlefield game, like with around the specialist and stuff? I could see that because like his studio is supposed to be working on something, and it was like in the press release, like they said that they were doing that. They were gonna come up with like working on this, furthering this furthering the story and the lore or the world or universe of 2040. So I wonder if they'll do a single player game or like a co-op game. That would be pretty crazy.
That is pretty crazy thought, actually. Yeah, who knows? I mean, yeah, that's his specialty, right? That's what he did. Is he the originator of the Halo series, right? He's like the kind of the.
I think he was on the original writing team. At Bungie that kind of started the universe and the IP and stuff. I'm sure it wasn't just one person, but I know he played a big part of it. And then I mean, it kind of makes sense. So the overall like setup for the next couple years, I'm not sure exactly what cadence stuff is going to be released, but allegedly, okay, you're going to have multiplayer, and then you're going to have Warzone 2, and you're going to have the DMZ. And I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the DMZ as well, coming out with Modern Warfare Roman numeral 2. And so then I heard there's rumors and leaks that Zombies is going to be separate in its own thing. It's going to split off. So like you have the 3 modes with Modern Warfare 2, and then you have Zombies as being its own thing. That's like what COD is supposed to be doing potentially. What do you guys think of the DMZ? And I know I like tweeted this out and I kind of took it farther than I probably should have, but I wondered because we're always wondering like what's the next big thing, right? Like Battle Royale took over, like multiplayer back in the day was like the big thing, like back when the internet first started. And then it kind of went to the next thing with Battle Royale being big with like armor mods and DayZ or is it DayZ?
Yeah.
And then PUBG, and it like took off. And then thanks for filling in the gaps where my brain gives out on me. I appreciate that.
No problem. I'm the youngest one here. I got you, boomers.
Yeah.
What would we do without you? And then so I speculated and just asked the question into the universe is like, do you think an extraction type game mode is going to be the next BR? If there's going to start adding them to AAA games, like they made a kind of attempt with Battlefield, maybe you could possibly say. But I wonder what Call of Duty is going to do. So it's like, I wonder if they are having an extraction type game mode. I know, to be fair, or to preface this, I no longer call it a Tarkov like mode. After playing Tarkov, I don't feel like there's ever going to be another Tarkov. Like I don't feel like it makes much sense for a AAA studio to attack something so detailed, deep, and intricate. And it's not going to appeal to a large audience of people. So I personally call them extraction type modes now instead of Tarkov type modes, because I think games like Siege and Tarkov are going to like kind of be their own thing. But do you think that extraction type game mode is the next Battle Royale? Essentially.
Well, I think you kind of almost coined that Extraction Royale, right? I'm pretty sure you're the first person I heard say that. I don't know if it'll be the next big thing, but I think it'll be alongside. I think it'll be alongside the Battle Royale. But like, dude, I don't know who's in terms, Fortnite. Okay, Fortnite's still going strong. Tons of kids, and I'm sure some adults alike are still playing Fortnite. I mean, they create tons of content for it. And then you got some other games on the list. We're gonna the Ark and stuff, right? But I mean, I don't know. I don't think it'll be the next big thing. Because the battle royale thing it's straight and to the point, and it's still high stakes, and it's still tense, and it's fun. Unless, I don't know though, man. Like, the thing is that, like, Tarkov, Escape from Tarkov could definitely, like, it's got that immersiveness, and I've like, if I didn't have a family, I'd probably play that game. I don't know how I could possibly, like, actually commit enough game time to that game. I've watched you stream it, dude, and it's like I've watched other streamers stream it, and I've watched them, like, literally for a half an hour just mess around with shit in your inventory. It's like, it's like, that's what you do for a half an hour, and then you play or whatever. I don't know. So it's like,
I don't know why my Twitch stream died. No one likes watching me click boxes. What's wrong with you
guys? So I don't know, but the Extraction Royale, the idea of the Extraction Royale is intriguing because it's a different type of thing. It's not the last man standing thing, but there's still the intensity of being hunted down by another team, and then you're not extracting and not getting the loot or whatever that you wanted from extracting. So I mean, it could catch on as something. I feel like it'll be something on the side of the battle royale genre, because I mean, Warzone is essentially Call of Duty, and Call of Duty is, it's the biggest first person shooter game in the world. Always really has been. It's everyone knows what, so I mean, it's like, so Warzone really grabbed a hold of this, thing by the cojones. And so I mean, and along with the, so I don't know.
I think,
but Evan doesn't care. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I know OSB, he loves battle royales. Like, I can't get him off of them.
Yes.
Absolutely stand for him.
Yeah. I can see them taking a good chunk of market share from battle royales. This is all from the outside looking in, to those in chat and watching this as a VOD later. I cannot stand battle royales. I think it's the most boring game mode ever. I would rather play Farming Simulator or American Truck Simulator over any battle royale. If I wanted to loot stuff, I would go play an RPG game or Minecraft.
But how do you really feel? How do you really feel about it?
I'm toning it down. There would be a lot more expletives otherwise. But I do understand the appeal to a broader audience. I'm not a real big target for a lot of these developers. I don't spend money on microtransactions. I don't care what my person looks like in a first-person shooter video game where I don't see them. It doesn't matter if I've got a pink mohawk or whatever, because I'm never going to see it. Doesn't matter to me. Same thing with like gun skins. I'm not going to spend money to make my gun look like bone or whatever dumb stuff they come up with these days. I would rather have something to grind towards, and that's where the multiplayer comes in. So I'm not a target audience for really anything, because I'm not going to spend money on dumb shit that doesn't, at the end of the day, you can earn everything in game.
Oh, well then, there you go. It's right up your alley.
Yeah, I would rather grind towards stuff than, I'm gonna spend $69 and get 420 stupid whatever the fucks for my character. So I'm not a target audience. I'm too cheap for all this other shit that they push in BRs, and I guess Tarkov doesn't really do it. So I'll give them some credit there.
Not at all. You can't buy anything in that game.
So I'll give them that, but like Dub, that Tarkov is just, it's too in depth for me. If I'm going to devote that much time into something, I'm going to do it in a racing game, because I already understand the concept of it. I know if I change this on my suspension, it will cause this effect. Whereas in Tarkov, it's like, I hope these bullets that I found don't cause my gun to jam more often or something ridiculous.
Yeah. I still had fun with it before I knew all those details, but I get it. It looked like a massive, uh, I don't know. It was just really really intimidating to look at all the content and like all the mechanics and figure it out. And I went ahead and did it. Like honestly, it happened after 2042. I'm like, well, I'm tired of COD, not playing 2042, and I have some time, so I kind of want to figure out Tarkov because it's intriguing. And yeah, the first several times it was really rough, but like you have that moment, like you have a super intense moment, like maybe you're doing a night raid with night vision and you see your buddy sneaking through a bush and you got crazy comms going and you pull off a flank on a Chad and shoot him in the head, and you get to take all this stuff, you have all this loot, and then now all of a sudden you're super nervous because you don't know if he has a buddy, you don't know if there's a scav,
Right.
you don't know if someone's across the map with thermals, but you got like 200,000 rubles worth of stuff now and you're trying to get out. And like, but like just some of the stuff you can do, there is no, like, a battle royale is like drop in, loot, fight, rotate, move. It's fun to me. Talk with your friends where you want to go, whatever. But in Tarkov, you literally never know what's gonna happen. Like when you go in a raid,
Yeah.
because like, and what's crazy is when I notice like how cool of a game it is once you have enough of an understanding of it, is like when I talk to my friends that play it, I'm like, we tell each other stories like we experience these things. Like, dude, I had this one raid where like my gun jammed and I ended up killing a scav, and there was another guy trying to sneak up on me and I saw him, and I mean there's just like an unlimited massive amount of things that can happen in there, and it's like you have these stories of these, each raid is like a story unless you die really, which happens. But I don't know, I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like some indie studios might try to take it on as far as making a Tarkov light. One that's already doing that is the developers of the Cycle Frontier. I know a lot of Tarkov folks are pretty excited about that because it's like more of an accessible, and it's closer to Tarkov, way closer than to something like Hazard Zone was, because you actually do mine for stuff, you loot, and then you pick up stuff along the way. You pick your loadout like before you go in. And I think that's where like OSB might like a Tarkov type or an extraction type game mode before, because you choose what you have when you go in, so you're not looking for guns to fight, like you can fight right off the rip, which is cool. I know I've heard you say before, like that's one of your least favorite things about BRs is like trying to find stuff and then die, like after you spent all that time finding it and then you start with nothing again. Like
yeah, that's one of my biggest problems, and I think it's just because Warzone is so popular. I don't want to use meta weapons. I like using weird shit that it's not statistically the best, but you can make it work. And a lot of the older Battlefield games, not 2042, kind of let you do that. You can use something that's not quite as good as the meta gun, but if you play it right, you can make it work. And Warzone's not like that fucking all.
Right, not at all. No, and that's one of the things that you'll get rewarded with in Tarkov if you do learn it. Is there is a crazy amount of ways you can play. With a bunch of different guns. Shotguns are super strong. They're like in real life, like even out to like 40 and 50 meters, you can dump truck somebody with a shotgun. And they're really cheap. Or you can chat out with the 308, and like I mean there's just so many ways you can play. You can play passive, and it's almost two different games to me. Like when I'm playing solo, I'm really slow and quiet, and like I walk, I don't run around the map, because a lot of times if someone's running, you'll hear them first, and audio is like super important. Like if you hear somebody first and you know where they are and they don't know where you are, so like, and I play a lot more passive and ratty. I'll say it, I get a little ratty. It's the way it is. And then when I play with friends, it's like we're running around, we have comms going, like where you're going, I think there's somebody here, and we'll actually like push shots and move on people and stuff like that. And there's just a crazy amount of ways you can play that game.
Doesn't seem like there's much other way to play it. I mean, other than ratty, man. I mean, it's like you're trying to survive, dude.
It kind of depends on your gear, but yeah, like if you go in and kit it out and knowing you can tank some shots, and you can. They made some amazing changes this wipe. No barking. They made some amazing changes this wipe to how the flea market works, and a lot of that crazy tier stuff isn't accessible on the flea market anymore. So it's a lot
Okay.
more rare. So if you do take some of that out, you can bet that most of the people you meet, like you can tank a few bullets and they can't. So like then you can play like a little bit more aggressive,
right.
but then they can always land that headshot and then that's gone and it's all theirs now.
That's
So
it.
it's
Gone in
crazy.
an instant.
Yep. So yeah, I just think it's going to be really interesting with I mean, we have Microsoft that bought Activision, you have all that stuff going on, and then you have COD changing its how it's going. We don't know like how they're releasing stuff, their cadence, and then you have Battlefield that we have no clue what's going to do. So like this, I just feel like these next few years are going to be really interesting.
Super interesting, and I think the most interesting thing, well, like the biggest sort of the biggest wild card in all of this, because we know what Activision's plan is now under Microsoft. It's kind of like dice. Like, what do they, what do they do? What do they do here? Yeah, I mean, it's going to be real interesting. I'm not going to hold my breath because this was like I said, this game was 2042 was like such a disappointment, and I don't know, but like, yeah, it opens things up. Activision making this announcement that they're supporting this year's game all the way through 20. So right through 2023, right? So no Treyarch release until 2024, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, because we're in 2022. MW2 comes out this year, so all of 2023 is MW2 and Warzone 2. Yeah, so
yeah, and people keep saying
a long time. That's a big window.
Yeah, and I'm really rooting for some indie studios to get in there. I super like respect how Tarkov does stuff with there's not a lot of microtransaction. It's not possible to be pay to win because once you buy the game, you can't buy anything else.
Yeah.
And I just feel like a lot of this has been a theme on this show. Like I've come to find out and realize that I'm just rooting for indie studios because they can take more risks. They don't have to go with what the financial department says is the safe play as far as mechanics and microtransactions. And yeah, I'm just hoping some like World War III's Tarkov continues to flourish, maybe gets a port to console, and like Insurgency keeps doing well. Maybe a new one of those games would be really cool. It's just I'm just rooting for indie studios really at this point. After
what I wish I would have thought about it, because I noticed now that you kind of got the list of games to talk about. And we can't talk about it too much because we didn't really. I wish I kind of would have thought about it and we could have got some stuff to talk about. But the Ubisoft, have you talking about a new Division game that sounds like it's going to be a battle royale style Division game? Have you heard anything about the Division Heartland? I think was the initial name that came out. Had you heard anything about that one?
Yeah, I saw that. And it looked like a hero shooter too. Like they were pulling out Boris turrets and stuff in the little bit of the trailer that I saw. But yeah, they're doing
there's a trailer. Holy crap, I'm way behind. I didn't even realize any kind of trailer.
I'm not sure if I'm thinking of the right thing. It might be called Division Frontlines. Let me. I'll get my
Ghost Recon Frontlines.
Yeah, that's the BR. I think Heartland is a Division DLC, so that's like the third person thing. That's going to be more. It's a little bit of a shift towards an extraction type game mode with PvP and PvE, like Tarkov's essentially. So Ubisoft's doing some stuff too. The stuff that they're doing with X Defiant and the stuff that they're doing with the Ghost Recon Battle Royale. I mean, they're behind the 8 ball on that stuff. I hope it's not as bad as the Hyperscape thing was. But I'm not excited about that. Division Heartland has the most chances for me, and I've always been a big fan of Rainbow Six Siege. I love that game too. But the stuff that they're doing with X Defiant, and they're essentially making a COD multiplayer, and then the stuff that they're doing with Ghost Recon, making a pretty generic battle royale, is like, I don't think people are too amped about that.
No.
Right.
I don't know why you would ruin the Ghost Recon name with that. Like, you think back to old Ghost Recon games, they're slow, they're tactical, you have to think about stuff. Like, what was it? Advanced Warfighter and Advanced Warfighter 2 were fantastic Ghost Recon games. A lot of people still talk about them and say that they're some of their favorites. And then you come in with Breakpoint, where it's a microtransaction filled bullshit, way too big. this Frontlines game that had huge backlash from the community on Reddit, so take it with a grain of salt. But nobody was excited for that. Everybody started trashing it the moment it got leaked or announced or whatever. Nobody was excited for it. And I don't know why all these, it's probably the publishers pushing for chasing whatever the trend is instead of sticking with, okay, this game started as this, let's keep doing that, because it's going to sell regardless. It might not sell as well as Call of Duty 420 69 360 no scope battle royale go fuck yourself.
I think I've played that.
Yeah, probably.
So
but just chase your core audience. Don't follow trends, and the suits at the top don't realize
and
that.
That's
they
why
don't play the games.
Exactly, and that's why I think I'm inherently pushing for independent studios, because they don't have that. You know, they can kind of do what they want, and that's why that's where my hope lies. But anyway, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting couple years to see what Call of Duty does, and we'll keep an eye on it around here. Something to do.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna touch briefly on Destiny 2. Witch Queen came out recently, and I'm really gonna have to rely on Dub for this one, because I've played a very minimal amount of Destiny. I did think it was pretty cool. But yeah, essentially, what do you think about like a brief overview? Destiny. So Destiny has multiplayer, and it has like a campaign thing, right, that you can play through, and like PvE type stuff. And then and so essentially, like when a new expansion drops like this, that's a new campaign.
Yes, it's correct. It's a new campaign, which is continuing, a story that started a long time ago. So a new, single player, but it's also co-op. So if you 3-man fire teams, you can join up as a 3-man party, and you can play through the campaign co-op or single player. So it's a brand new single player campaign to play through, which is advancing the story of the world of Destiny 2. We're on the Witch Queen, obviously. I actually have to go back at the lore and story in Destiny 2 is absolutely one of the most convoluted and confusing stories in video games. And I know the main character is the Witch Queen, who specifically her name is Savathun, and it's actually really neat, because Savathun was this kind of character that's been in the game for a while, but it was sort of a big baddie character that was kind of in the background. And now she's kind of like come forward as the big antagonist in this expansion. And so we're like finally facing her and stuff like this. So it's pretty cool. And it's Destiny 2 has been on an upward track for a while, which is good to see. I only stopped playing it because I just got kind of tired of the grind. It got really grindy. Like there was just, it's a fun game. It's a looter shooter, and there's there's tons of great looking guns, tons of great looking gear in the game, and things to earn and all kinds of, but now with this expansion, it's expanding on things that they did in Shadowkeep, which is the last expansion, which were all really successful, all very fun activities. So they've really expanded on the activities that you can so much room for activities. It really expanded, which is good, because before it was just daily bounties, and it was a really kind of narrow sort of scope of things to do. The scope.
Shout out.
Shout out to that guy Crash, man. He's pretty cool.
Dude, the more bourbon I drink, the more shout outs happen. I just start shouting out like everything. That's how it is. But
hey, why not, man? So it's actually, and this has so far been really well received. And they have also introduced something completely brand new to the game in weapon crafting. So there's actually like crafting in the game now, which is pretty neat. So weapon crafting, the new story, and then of course Destiny, they do the content, they do the seasons. battle pass. So this is and they've had and all the seasons of we're in season 1. Oh well, no, actually, I'm sorry. They've actually been numbering the seasons since season 1 of Destiny 2. So I want to say this is like season 16 now. I think we're in or something. So but yeah, so they've been doing this and Bungie's and now with the thing that when they divorced Activision, the whole community was a very kind of sort of nervous time for the community, right? Because it's like they everyone knew it was a good thing for them to divorce Activision because Activision was trying to kill their game the way they've maybe killed other games, the way Electronic Arts has killed off some games, right?
No.
So the divorce from Activision, right, was a good thing, but it was also like, man, like now where do they get money? And and they had like this big Chinese investor, I guess, who gave them this like big influx of cash, like at first. But now with the acquisition, Sony acquiring them, it's like, well, cool. Now they're set, right? And like so it's like Destiny 2 is like poised to like really, really take a lot, I think, of I mean, it's it's a looter shooter game. It's sort of a specific audience, if you will. But just it's in a good spot now, and the Witch Queen I think is going to be received really well. I've started playing it. I haven't finished the campaign myself yet, actually. But it's in a good spot, and Sony buying Bungie is really going to help. Yeah, so it's Bungie or Destiny 2's looking up for the future here, actually. So
yeah, and I have, from an outsider looking in, like I said, I played it just a little bit when it became free to play on Steam, and that's another game that's doing well, that's free to play, that has paid aspects as well, but you can get in the door free to play and try it out.
And there's a lot of content available for free to play too. There's really a good deal of content. It's just you'll run into the paywall, when you'll run into it because you have to have this expansion to do this, but even in the free to play mode, there's quite a lot to do that you can.
That's really
have
cool.
Fun playing, yeah.
And I just appreciate seeing games like that. It's one of the big reasons I really like Siege is that it keeps going and they keep supporting it. And I think that's really cool to see. Like, okay, shout out Bungie for like continuing to like support their game and stuff. That's one of the reasons I like Siege, because when you pick up a game, especially like a shooter game with some different mechanics, like the looter shooters, like I'm sure you have to learn like what loot's good, what guns are good, and there's a lot of mechanics to learn. But when you invest that time, it's really cool to know that you are playing a game where you're not going to have to learn a new one in a year. Like you spend the time like learning how to play it, and you get some cool cosmetics in your loot, and you get to keep using them, and all those cosmetics you earn and grind for and stuff. It's like, I didn't ever understand like the Call of Duty. I guess they did it people do it for the gameplay. I guess that makes sense, but like for the sake of getting the skins, like getting like Diamond and Dark Matter and Atomic and like all those like completionist type gun skins in Call of Duty, it's like by the time you get that, the next game's out and you're not gonna ever use it again. And I like that aspect of games that keep supporting it. Like you earn something cool that you're proud of, you get to keep it, and it's worth it.
Sure,
for like
makes sense.
For like longer.
Yep.
But no, have you played it? Have you played it, OSB? Are you a Destiny'er at all?
I downloaded it just because it's something to play. It's a new FPS to me. I played a little bit of Destiny 1, like when the Xbox One first came out, or when the game first came out. I don't even remember if it was at the launch of the Xbone. I played a little bit. The problem was I didn't have any friends to play it with. So I didn't get too into it. I was like, all right, yeah, whatever. I'll go back and play Forza or whatever I was playing 10,000 years ago.
I got you. Yeah. I played it a little bit, and like I played a lot of the multiplayer, and I thought that was really fun. And then I'll be honest, guys, I suck at getting into stories, like into the like campaigns and stuff like that. I don't know. I can hardly ever do it. It's like I enjoy watching people play those, like Elden Ring. Like I've been watching so much Elden Ring lately, but I don't have any desire to play it. Like I just like this story, and like I think that's really cool. I don't know why. I'm really weird, but we all knew that.
I don't think you're. Well, I don't know, dude. You're not unlike I think you are in a minority though, because like one of the things we talked about a lot, like when before 2042 came out, was how I saw a lot of talk online about people being butthurt about the lack of a campaign for 2042, you know? So it seems like there are a lot of people out there that do prefer the campaign stuff. And and one of our patrons actually made a really good point. Junk Pup mentioned his name. I think he said it was Alex or someone. But like of all the 2040 of all the Battlefield games, this one really probably and I poo-pooed the idea of it having a campaign. I didn't really care. But like they fleshed out so much of like a world for this game, so much more than they did for 3 or 4, right? You know, like one, obviously like in 1 and 5, it's inherent. It's a World War I and a World War II setting, so like that's inherent stuff. But like in 3 and 4, they didn't really. They really kind of took like the Battlefield 1942 or like the Battlefield 2 approach. It's like this is really just about making a multiplayer, Battlefield game. And like the stories for the campaigns were really just generic, you know, how there's some Russian general's gone crazy and he's invaded some peace-loving country. I don't know, it's kind of nuts, right? I don't know.
No way. What?
Yeah. But you know what I mean. I don't mean to make light of what's going on in Ukraine, obviously, but like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? It's like just there, but Battlefield 2042 has got this way fleshed out like setting. And I agree with a lot of the like the stream.
Shout out.
Now. Hit that thumb up button. Yeah, you know, like it just the climate crisis and the NOPATs and all this stuff of any games. This one probably really should have had a campaign actually. It could have been a pretty neat story.
That's the thing that I said along those same lines that I thought I added it to the list of misses for this game was this was the perfect battlefield for an operations mode. Like for grand operations where you could have played into that storyline on those big maps and stuff like that and talked about like resources and sieges of cities and like you could have and like you had an open blank canvas, like you weren't following any historic battle or anything, and you could, and that's what I thought they were gonna do. I mean, it'd be so funny. I'm gonna have to do it someday and go back and watch all my videos in the lead up to this game, because when they said no campaign, I made a video that said, oh, dude, they're going to double down on operations. They're going to take operations to the next level, and they're going to take all those resources that they would have put into the campaign, and they're going to put it in multiplayer. And they even said, we're going to tell the story through the multiplayer. So that's where my brain went. It's like, dude, we're going to get some insane operations mode. And I was like, dude, I was drinking the Kool-Aid, man. I was, yeah, rough, man. But I was like, they're going to, do that, and then they're gonna bring something to multiplayer that's gonna be great, like this grand operations mode. I feel like people are getting fatigued on like TDM domination, spawn and shoot die, spawn and shoot die, spawn and shoot die. Like I always see the dot clip where he spawns into Vanguard and he starts sprinting, he's like go go go, lose brain cells, go go go, lose brain cells, like running. Like we're tired of that. And if you had like a multiplayer but you had a reason to fight, like, and it would be just so much more immersive. And I think that, in my opinion, my terrible opinion, them not doing a campaign was just a massive miss to not do operations. Like,
yes, yeah, they missed the ball so hard there. They should have brought back either Grand Ops from 5 or just operations from 1, because it gave you a reason to care about this battle and to try and do well.
Yeah,
you got to stop the Zimmerman telegram, or I don't remember any of the ones from 5. I didn't play them all that much, but it gave you something to, even if it didn't matter because it's just some pixels on your screen, it gave you something to think about, something to fight for.
Immersiveness. It's part of that's part of what immersiveness is. Yeah, is giving you this. Yeah, even though, like I said, you're just playing a no-brainer first-person shooter game, but I mean, you do that kind of thing, and it like, and everyone's always gotten that feel from some kind of game. We get that. I get that feel from Gran Turismo. You get that feel of just like being part of, like, you know, the world of racing and acquiring cars and tuning them and winning points and winning races. It's just that's an immersive thing. Yeah. So the I word.
Yeah, we don't have that around anymore. It's not here anymore. So yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was one of the, I mean, add it to the list, right?
Yeah.
stuff that was
Sorry,
missed out on.
so I apologize for derailing back to 2042.
Dude, I do the same thing. And that's fine, especially like this channel was built around that game. Wah wah. And like I don't know, I do the same thing. So I equate a lot of things to 2042 because I think I said it so many dang times. I'm gonna still keep covering it because it's gonna be crazy interesting to see what they do. We can move on to I call this segment, I didn't write it because I didn't have room on the overlay. Sorry guys, my production team sucks. That we I call these like quick shots, so we'll kind of talk about these these stories just a little bit faster. Maybe not, I don't know, however we want to. The games I wanted to touch on were Arc Raiders, Fallout, and World War III. So first off with Arc Raiders, so if you guys don't know, I did a little bit of a video on it today. Arc Raiders is essentially the first game that's going to be released by Embark Studios, where a ton of former Battlefield developers from DICE went to and started their own thing out from underneath the EA umbrella to have more creative flexibility. And what it looks like is a game, well, it's a third-person PvE game, but it's also co-op. There's a lot of stuff in it, like crafting, and it looks like looting and stuff. So essentially the gameplay loop, and you can read a little bit about it on their website, but essentially like the gameplay loop will be like there's these giant aliens. It almost looks like War of the Worlds from Tom Cruise that like attack and drop in on the world, and you have to go out and like take them out. And then once you kill them, I think you can get like loot from them and parts, and you can craft new weapons and stuff like that from like the alien parts, things like that. So like that's kind of what it looks like. The trailer was absolute fire, mainly because of the song. They played Robin, and I'm a huge fan of that, oddly enough. The song in the trailer got me like so fired up.
I don't think I've watched the trailer yet. You have to. I gotta watch it. I saw pictures. I remember seeing some images from the game, and the images are super intriguing. I dig the retro 80s-ish kind of feel.
It's like a futuristic 80s. It's so weird. Yeah. It's almost feels like the trailer feels like Stranger Things, but like in space. It's a cool 80s retro vibe, but like in the future. It's such a cool world. And yeah, you need to watch the trailer with the volume cranked because it's pretty cool. But the reason I wanted to talk about them today, and the reason I did my video earlier that I thought was interesting, is they are to the point where they're getting play testers. So they're asking for people to sign up to play test. So my mind goes to that they've done quite a bit of internal play testing, and then now they're switching to open it up to public. And I feel like they're going to start adding a little bit more and more of the people to play test it. So I think that development is moving along on that game. That game, if you guys, the link's in that video, but essentially for those of you who are interested in signing up for it, they tweeted it this morning, and then I think they got a lot of people signing up. Tom Henderson and a few other people retweeted it, and they took it down, like they deleted the tweet to get people to sign up, but you can still go to their website and get on the list. So you go to embark-studios.com, and at the top they have a tab for playtest, and you can click on that and you can put in your contact info and try to get on for a playtest. But the game looks pretty cool. I think this is going to be something that people that especially like the mechanics of like Battlefront are really going to like, with that third person feel. I imagine the gunplay is going to feel a lot like Battlefront. A lot of the same developers.
That's the vibe I was getting, like looking at the video on the stream.
Yeah. So I would, you need to watch it with the audio, like the music.
I'm going to
fire, but I'm being careful not to put too much into a trailer. I have learned my lesson. But this is also supposed to be free to play. So doesn't hurt anything to try it out, but I just thought it was interesting that they're to the point where you can sign up for playtest. So that's pretty cool. And there's a little bit of information on their website as well. Like you can look up, and they talk a little bit about it's going to be a hero shooter. There's different characters and stuff with backstory, but it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. And then also For those of you that are similar to me and are not as excited about third person as you are about first person, Embark is also working on a first person shooter multiplayer too. So, but they've only shown like little snippets of that and just said that that's what they're working on. So like that's a little bit. And then, did either of you guys play Fallout?
A little bit. I never got too into them. They're too open. I lose track of what I'm doing. I get bored and I stop playing. I recognize they're great games. I can't get into them. Same thing.
He's an absolute smooth brain. You'll have to excuse him.
That's very true.
And he's a 30 FPS casual. So
I guess we'll allow it. But yeah, so the reason they're talking about that, and have you played the Fallouts, Dub?
I have. Not as much as like some people. I played Fallout. I played some Fallout 3, a little bit of Fallout New Vegas. Never like finished it. I almost finished Fallout 4. Really liked it, but I never kind of the same thing. Like the Bethesda games, man, are pretty in depth, and it's like you do really gotta, kind of Tarkovian, right, if you will, to a certain degree, but not in a real time world, But no, I really enjoyed Fallout 4. I mean, it's it's a hard game to deny. It's one of the staples of gaming now. Yeah. So no, I enjoyed Fallout 4 and 3 quite a bit, and New Vegas actually.
So why it's in the news is Jeff Grubb has reported that they are in early talks at Obsidian to start working on Fallout New Vegas 2. So they're gonna do another Vegas one. So that's why I wanted to talk about it a little bit. And the other reason why I think it's kind of pertinent, I'm showing the trailer from the first New Vegas, but why I think it's interesting is I felt like, and I talked about this with Geeks A, he's a Tarkov streamer and content creator. He has YouTube as well. Hold
on. It's Geeks A. Geeks A.
Yeah, Geeks A.
So yeah, he's Canadian. He's
incredibly Canadian. He's extremely Canadian. I love that dude. But he and we talked about this a little bit. Like Fallout, isn't that far from being Tarkov. Like it could be a game that changes a few things around and almost be like a Tarkov light that's ported to console, and there's people that would play it. Because there's a big. I've had a lot of people in my streams and stuff when I'm playing Tarkov. Like I wish I could play it on console, and I think that's what. Yep. I mean, and there's just a market there. It's undeniable that there's a large group of people that are missing out on that type of gameplay, and I feel like it wouldn't be that hard to tweak Fallout into that if they wanted to go that route. But
yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't really thought, but like I said, it's somewhat Tarkovian before in that sense. It's just. You can pick up everything. You can pick up absolutely everything, right? It's and you got to manage your inventory, but I don't know. I mean, that's an interesting take because the thing is too, that's one part of the Fallout games, but another part of the Fallout games has always been the decision-making and the storytelling, right? And the way you progress the story, depending on all your decision-making and stuff like that. And especially obviously that's a big thing with with your Elder Scrolls games and stuff like that, right? So it's I don't know, maybe there's somewhere in there for that because obviously a lot of people keep saying, but I saw a meme there's that meme of that photoshopped PlayStation controller with 16 different analog sticks on it and 50 buttons. Is you want to play Tarkov on console, you're going to need this controller.
Not wrong.
Right. Yeah.
The thing I thought about, well, I didn't think about this. It goes to Get Flanked. We talked about. He's a Rainbow Six content creator, and he said we just got to talking about Tarkov because we both kind of started it this wipe because they added the VoIP and made the flea market changes. It's really cool. But anyway, I talked about that enough. He mentioned that there's a lot of people who want to play it on console, and he's like, why don't they just do it? And I'm like, because you can't play that with a controller. And he said, and he brought up a really good point that the new consoles natively support mouse and keyboard if you enable it as a developer. So they could just put Tarkov on console. It's a CPU, GPU, right? True. And they could require you to use a mouse and keyboard. So like,
That is totally true, actually.
so people could, I mean, it would just allow people that are willing, you know, console folks that are traditionally controller players, it would allow them to get into that world a little bit and play a little bit with that. But they just have to play mouse and keyboard, but you can still play it. So, and that would be enticing to me, because there wouldn't be any cheaters, like, allegedly, like, pretty much it would cut way down on cheaters because it'd be on console and you play mouse and keyboard. Like,
Oh God, man! Speaking of cheaters
that
and
would tempt me.
Warzone, shout out to McBango, twitch.tv/McBango. He's a drop shot community guy, objective community guy, friend of the pod, friend of he streams a ton. Oh, I've watched him play, and cheaters in Warzone are out of control, man.
Yeah.
Even out of control might not be the right term for it, but they're still there. I watched him stream, and he ran into a handful like in just a few hours of playing.
Yeah.
And even with their ricochet anti-cheat, it's like, man,
And
what
then
frustration too.
And then you have all the people using like Cronus's too. So I've seen, I've seen people with they have these super high DPS builds with a ton of recoil, but then when they shoot, there's just nothing, because you can put that into the Cronus and it can take the recoil out for you. So like, you see that all the time, and anti-cheat's not going to pick that up, and it's like, it's super depressing. And like, cheaters in Tarkov hurt so bad because it's so high stakes. And if you're like trying to complete a task that you've been working on for weeks and you're gonna do it, and like, it hurts. Like, I don't see that many of them. But
if you've been killed by a cheater though in that game,
occasionally there's like really blatant ones. So sometimes like people will be sprinting and they'll sprint around a corner and headshot you from the hip, and it's like, that's not possible.
Not gonna happen in that game, right? Yeah.
And there's some crazy cheats where people like certain like super blatant cheaters will actually talk shit over the comms. There's proximity chat now.
Fucking hell.
And they can see, and they'll try to freak people out. So I've seen this on YouTube. They can see your stats, they can see your name, and they can see what loot you have. So they can, I've seen videos of people, like, there'll be a cheater come up to them and say, you know, hey, if you drop that graphics card, I'll let you go. So like, they know what loot they have on.
God.
Yeah,
man.
And there's a guy who's really, really cool. His name is That Friendly Guy, and he plays Tarkov without guns. He hasn't fired a single shot, and he's like super high level, and he just runs around and VoIPs people and tries to work with people. So like, he'll say, you know, hey, I'll give you this, you let me run around with you. And he'll just really sneaky, but he'll also talk to people and try to communicate and to get through it without killing anybody. Yeah, it's really interesting. But he came across a cheater in labs, which I don't know how you go to labs without a gun, but and he was talking to him, and it was weird. The guy was like finding loot, like he was going right to loot, like in places you wouldn't check, and finding good stuff. And the guy was like, are you cheating? And he's like, yeah, I'm cheating. And he's like, that's the only reason I didn't kill you, is because I can see your stats and tell that your KD's really low and you weren't a threat to me. Like, he can see everybody's stats in the lobby and stuff.
Right.
And it's like,
right.
These people. But
wow.
Anyway, and the last game I wanted to talk about, and you guys talked about this in your podcast a little bit, and I think, Evan, you've played this, World War III.
Yep.
You played it a little bit. The reason I wanted to bring that up, so all of you have a reason to talk about them today. We are not officially, some places are, but next month will be launch month for the open beta of World War III. So it's supposed to come out free to play in March, and there's a couple big things happening with it. They're doing an audio rework, which is badly needed, and I'm really hoping for a few new maps. But I was wanting to get your thoughts on where you think World War III is and what chance it has of succeeding.
Given the state of 2042, I think it could do really well. I know it's PC only, but it is free to play. So I think it could do pretty decently, all things considered, given the state of everything right now. The little bit I played, I have maybe 5 or 6 hours in it from the one free-to-play closed beta weekend a couple weeks ago. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if it's a game that I could sink as much time into as a traditional Battlefield game, but I can see myself, all right, yeah, cool, I've got nothing else to do. no one's online. I'm gonna kill some time. I'm gonna hop on World War III and I'm just gonna fuck around. Or okay, cool, yeah, the boys are online. Let's go run some, and we'll be a little more serious and try and run some shit.
Yeah.
I have high hopes but low expectations. It's kind of do that a
Base
lot
take.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a base
Uh,
take. That makes sense.
I don't think I was as butthurt about how 2042 launched because of that. I've gone into almost every game with high hopes, low expectations because they're out here to make money. So a free to play game is a little bit different. It'll be interesting to see how they try to monetize it. But again, I don't spend money on games past the initial purchase, so it doesn't really matter to me all
Yeah.
that much.
Unless it's like a pay to win thing where you're getting stomped by
Right.
people that are buying a only purchasable gun. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's interesting and it's funny because it's come full circle. I bought it the first time it came out because that's when people were disenfranchised with Battlefield 5. It's like people were upset about that. So I'm like, man, World War 3 has a chance. And then it came out and just fizzled in the pan, dude. It was so rough. And then so now it's funny to me how we were like, well, now it's going to get squashed by 2042, but then we've come back around. Like, oh man, I know one likes 2042. World War 3 has a chance. It's just funny because like I've heard all this stuff before, but I really think they do. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with MWII as a publisher and how they. I'm with you. Like it's going to be very important to see how they handle microtransactions in a free to play game. That can be done tastefully or that can be done pretty incorrectly.
Yes. Yeah, that's the reason I
Unethically.
typically don't play free to play games.
Yeah.
It's either it doesn't really matter or it's pay to win. And it's usually pay to win. I'm just like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna waste my time.
So
because I'm not gonna pay.
And I've said this a couple times, for this game to be absolutely amazing, the potential is there because like I said, the soldier and the weapon customization are the gold standard for me in shooters going forward. And they even have a plus system. There's just called the backpack system. So you can have a couple different attachments in your backpack and change them on the fly, which is really cool and interesting. That they kind of did that at the same time 2042 did. It needs audio. They're working on it.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that the new audio, it was supposed to come out this week. They delayed that. They just tweeted today. So the audio is delayed, and then but they're working on it hopefully for the release this month. So they're working on that for sure, which is really good. It needs more maps because there's only like 4. And then but we've seen teases of them in trailers.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there's not very many maps right now. And then this is a selfish one. This is not what it needs, but this is what I want. In an internal meeting, they talked about wanting to do esports eventually and having to come up with a different game mode just for esports. And I'm telling you, dude, if this game had a search and destroy mode, like you could 4 stack or 5 stack with some friends and get sweaty and play search and destroy with these mechanics, I'm so in, dude. Because you could play your TDM to warm up. If you wanted to run around and drink some beers and bourbon, you could just run around on like the conquest type game mode. And then if you wanted to sweat and get serious and compete, you play the S&D, like have a ranked mode, and it would have everything. So that's just like my selfish hope. I know it doesn't need that to succeed to fill that Battlefield gap, but that's like just what I would love to see from them. But I'm rooting for them. I hope they can bring it together. I know we've cut them a lot of slack because they've let us down a lot before with their first release and stuff like that. Was really rough, and that's why it died. But I also wanted to mention, this is another game I get where, OSB, you mentioned it's only on PC. True, but what I thought was interesting, they have a creator program that you can sign up for to try to be like a partnered creator. And in the frequently asked questions of it, it's one of the questions was, are you accepting console creators? And they said not at this time, but eventually our plan is to bring some console creators on board. So I'm like, well, it would be pretty silly to have console content creators that can't play your game. Yeah. So I think there's a hope that they come to console eventually, based on that, pretty much.
Yeah, and the new consoles are so close to like a low end PC. It kind of makes sense. I can't imagine it would be a huge jump to transfer it over. Granted, I know fuck all about programming and all of that back end stuff, but they use an AMD APU essentially.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine it would be all that difficult. I know mapping all the controls and stuff would be an issue, but that
Well, it does have rudimentary controller support. So I mean, it's like they've
Okay.
started. Like you can play it with a controller, and it's got a few like stick sensitivity and stuff like built into it. So
yeah.
they would just need to flesh that out, and then they would be with it. But yeah, have you played it, Dub?
I did. I played it a little. What was it? It was like it was a free weekend, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they
like
did a
about a
free
month
weekend.
ago. Yep, downloaded it and played it on the free weekend. I could definitely get into it too. In the search and destroy mode would in this game would be pretty good. I dug it. I think it played pretty well. I thought it played well. I thought the movement was good. I thought gunplay felt pretty good. I like the sound of the guns. But yeah, overall the audio was definitely a little sus overall. But no, it's yeah, it's definitely got the potential. So it's definitely got the
Yeah.
potential there. So we'll see what what's the name of that developer that makes that game?
Farm
Farm
51.
Farm 51's the developer, and then they went in. I'm not sure who bought who or whatever, but My.Games is the publisher, and like that's the
Okay.
launcher and stuff you have to
Okay,
go
yeah.
to. So they picked up on them to help them like finish the game out. So yeah, that's where that's at. I'm hopeful
Yeah.
for it, and even though that, like, I'm still excited to play. The thing I'm most excited about for Modern Warfare 2 is I want to try to get a stack of people to play Search and Destroy in Modern Warfare Roman numeral 2.
All right.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. Because
Yeah.
I've always loved Siege for that. Like I've loved the gameplay of like Search and Destroy, but I've never really like dove into a COD and like learned the meta and like the perks and attachments and the lanes and stuff of the maps for S&D. And I like Rainbow Six is like Search and Destroy on steroids. So it'd be cool to have a little bit more accessible Search and Destroy, because I love that flow of like round based tension and squad play.
Yeah.
It's like it builds up, and then you kind of regroup, and it's almost like each round is like a final circle of a BR. But yeah,
I don't know if I could do that again. I was real into that on with Counter-Strike Source.
yeah,
I was a
it's like CS.
I was a big Counter-Strike. Yeah, I was a big CS Source Chad, and I played that a ton, man. Fucking Dust 2, and what was the name of the other map? Dust 2, and oh god, what was the name of that map? Shit, I can't remember the names of the maps now. I want to look it up, but yeah, but like that, you're kind of talking my language.
I'll be back in a minute, boys. Somebody is harassing me.
Sounds good. You better handle that.
Yeah, I know.
I'll say a prayer for him.
You're definitely talking my language with the Search and Destroy thing, and you listen to you talk about Rainbow Six Siege almost makes me want to try it out. But I've heard you talk about the game and how it can be a little toxic and it is sweaty as hell. Apparently, like
that's what I liked about it though. Like I've had some of my favorite multiplayer experiences in my life playing ranked Rainbow Six Siege with friends, because I used to be a competitive shooter in real life, and like having that outlet of competing in my home like for free, essentially, like at the computer, is so cool. Like, and like some of the stuff and the comms and like the clutches and like getting better and like seeing that rank go up, and I had a massive goal of reaching platinum, and I did that, and I was like so proud of being able to get there as an old person playing a flicky shooter like that. So yeah, I don't know, I just have a big place in my heart for Siege, and it's similar to Tarkov. You're gonna eat shit for a good 4 months before you start pulling stuff off, but I feel like before that pretty early on, I think you would see the appeal of it. If you play with friends, solo queuing is a nightmare. I would rather slam my wiener in a car door than start out on that game with freaking solo. Like it's not good. But if you had some people to play, like I mean, we could probably find somebody that's played that game a little bit to play with you.
Sure, right.
And I don't know. It's pretty fun. But at the same time, that's another game like I really commend them for supporting. They're going into year 7. with new content.
That's
And
cool,
that's a
man.
game that you get your money's worth. Like you can buy it on sale for like $7 and you can unlock everything playing it and all the maps and stuff for free. And I have a lot of hours in a $15 game, which is
Wow.
pretty
Yeah,
darn cool. But yeah,
good value. Pretty
it's
good
so
value.
deep and you're always learning. Yeah, you never stop learning in that game. It's really cool. Yeah, I've been trying to like find people to play with the game. I'd love to get like a stack together and play some more Siege. I want to get back into it in year 7 a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really cool game. If you like CS, I feel like you would get it. You'd understand it pretty quick. The thing that would take that takes the time is learning the maps, and then learning what operators do what, and then once you get that, then you have the base, and then it's down to like angles. Like you'll get killed from somewhere weird, which is cool because like there is a kill cam, and well, they have now. You can go back and watch a match, so you can watch a complete match from anyone's perspective or an overview or anything. It records every match, and you can go back and watch it and learn from it. So it's really cool. Like sometimes you'll get killed from a crazy spot, or somebody will punch a hole in the floor and shoot you across through into a doorway or through a window, and it's like, oh, that sucks. But at the same time, you're like, I'm gonna remember that, and then you do that to somebody else, and it's like it's pretty cool. But yeah. So anyway, I think that pretty much covers most of the stuff I wanted to talk about. We can kind of freestyle for a little bit if anybody in chat wants to ask questions or make a statement. Yeah, I pretty much that's the planned portion of what I wanted to talk about. That was pretty awesome. But anybody in chat have a question or an opinion for us to talk about?
Did we talk enough news? I hope we talked enough news for. I know it's supposed to be kind of a news show, and we did kind of.
No, we're safe because I big brained this and I call it news and talk.
Well,
so we talked.
Big brained.
No, but that's what I want it to be. No, it's that was great, dude. I really appreciate you guys. Cool. That's exactly what I want it to be. We sprinkle some news. We talk about the current events in the first person shooter, and we give our opinions and reactions and discuss it. And that's exactly what we did and what I want the show to be. First off, real quick, thank you to Sad Balls for the 149, Rec with the 10, this just in with the 499, and Jacob Grubb with the 499. You guys popped off with the super chats. I'm gonna have to cut you guys a royalty check. Gee whiz.
This just in. That's awesome. He's a friend of the pod. He's an objective guy. Came in and checked you out, man. So that's cool. He's actually the guy I was talking about. He's the Hazard Zone Chad.
Nice.
Yeah.
I kind of stopped. Like I got to where I feel like I can maybe call myself a Chad. I have a 17 game extraction streak on Angel. So he's sitting on 17 right now, and that's when
nice. Jake's asking in chat. What do you think is going on behind the scenes of 2042? Obviously, you see that BF4, BF1, BF5 all have higher player counts, probably like on Steam. They know the game failed. Do they even try to create a lot of DLC, or do they just basically say, let's move on to the next game because we can't? Yeah, screw up again. Dude, I don't know.
That's the $1 million question.
It's the $1 million question, man. Exactly.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We have no idea what they're thinking. I've said though, like I say, I'm 98% sure that this game's getting anthemed, and yes, they know the game failed, so this is gonna be like a, but with I don't know, but like, what do they do, dude? I mean, do they like? I don't know. I don't think they're gonna like relaunch. I think they're gonna announce Hazard Zone is free to play. We've got tons of content for it. And if it's free to play and there's lots of fun stuff you can do for free. And if you like the game enough, it's going to, they're in a weird spot because it seems like a totally just out of place for them to even try to ask for more money, right? From consumers for this game. So it's like, I don't know, but that's really the $1 million question, man. They're scrambling. They're either scrambling or they're working their ass off. Zampella and the guy in Seattle who you mentioned earlier, maybe they're working their ass off and they're going to turn this thing around. Who knows, man?
And that might be why we've gotten the silence. I mean, DICE has always done this almost, but this time the reason could be that they're kind of retooling everything, and like they have all this new leadership that kind of has to meet and figure out what direction they want to go. And that, I mean, that changing like 3 massive bosses all at once has to be like a bit of a transition period. So
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Huge transition period. Yeah, losing Oscar Gabrielson, right? Bringing on Vince Ampola. Daniel Berlin is still there. And he's a pretty OG Battlefield guy. But I mean,
Alexander Grundall left.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, that's another one left.
He was
but those guys are all the top, and then you've got all these new people in the studio, right? You've got young, hopefully talented people in the studio, you know, and you've got to they've got to work with these people and get them all on the same page. And yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a very June is going to be the most interesting time. June, if we don't even see the stuff get pushed back, right? I mean, who knows? But
yeah, and then exactly.
I'm gonna step away for a second. I gotta use the bathroom.
No worries. And then Jacob says, "Do you think they try Specialist again?" Unfortunately, yeah. Did I hear that right? OSB didn't they hire Leto to work on furthering the Specialist story? Like, so they just made that hire, so they're not going anywhere.
So they hired him to more build on the lore and the world. I don't know if it's necessarily Specialist backstories and whatever bullshit Angel does in his free time with his pedophile goatee and his tactical beanie. But he's there to help with the story somehow. We'll see how that goes. I can see them just scrapping the game entirely, and he works on the story. Maybe the next one ties in. 2043 is the bigger, better version of this game with an actual story. But time will tell, dude. I have no fucking idea.
Yeah, I really think Specialists are here to stay.
Yeah, I do too. They push microtransactions. As long as they're fairly balanced, which more or less they are. I know Angel is pretty OP, but they're not as bad as they could be.
Right.
I can see them working out a lot of the bugs with them, but again, time will tell. I don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah, they can make it work, but based on the hirings alone, Specialists aren't going anywhere. They might tone them down a lot maybe in the next one, and I think they could do a standalone campaign type story game with Specialists and a lot of lore and stuff into it. So
I could see them doing, and I don't remember who said this because I'm taking this from somebody's YouTube video. Maybe it was Stoddy or Westy, I think. I could see them doing it how like the what were they called in Battlefield 1?
The Specialist pickups or whatever?
Yeah.
Like the elite.
Like you could pick up Angel, like you could pick up a tank hunter, or you could pick up Falk.
And they did that in Battlefront, right? Like you could pick up a Jedi hero or whatever.
I didn't play as much Battlefront, but I could see them doing it like that, where generally you're just a dude on the battlefield, and you can pick up the crate to be Angel or Irish or Falk or whoever the fuck you want to be.
Yeah. So I guess Insurgent is breaking a little bit of news here at the end of the show. He sent me a screenshot of he direct to message the game director for Days Gone and a game designer from Siphon Filter and said that they're working on something new at that studio that made Siphon Filter. That's pretty interesting. That studio has been purchased by Sony. So there could be a new shooter from Sony. I really appreciate that, man. Thanks for keeping us in the loop. But that's just I feel like there's a hole left by no COD in 2023, and it's gonna be like a race to see who tries to fill that void, and that could be one of them.
Yeah, no, that's definitely one of the biggest kind of sort of stories with that whole announcement. Yeah, you're right. Like you said, man, like what fills that void in. Yeah.
If the next Battlefield is 1944 with an emphasis on classic American battles everyone knows and loves, D-Day. Another World War II game, OSB would pre-order that today.
Yep.
We
Yep.
love
I
it.
would buy every Tom Cruise skin. I would run around as a Japanese chick in the Soviet Union fighting the Phantom of the Opera. No, stop it. Get
No.
some help.
No, what I will say, Jacob, though, like really along those lines is I'm gonna try a sneak peek, guys, for a video. What I'm gonna make is I think I'm gonna try to do a live commentary with Battlefield 5, and this you're gonna love to hear this, OSB. I'm to the point where I would love to see Battlefield 5 DLC instead of anything more 2042.
Really?
Wait. Because I feel like the engine is better. It's so much more optimized. It still holds up graphically. I love the mechanics. If they took that game and they ditched the random recoil and ditched attrition, it still has classes and everything that people like. And they left so much content on the table with that game, stopping it early to work on 2042. They did all those wars and battles and stuff that were less heard of, but they left so many iconic battles that I think would look stunning on that engine, on that version of Frostbite still. And they just left a ton of content. They didn't do like any of the main like Eastern and Western Front stuff that they could have done. And like some of those iconic battles, I feel like would be perfect DLC. Like he's talking about in 1944. I think that stuff would go in there because they didn't touch it in that game, and that engine still holds up extremely well.
Yes,
it does.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just done with World War II, but Battle of Stalingrad would be pretty cool.
I thought
it should have been there.
I thought if they did something cool with like Battle of the Bulge and all the tanks were like running out of gas and stuff, and you had to like I don't know, there'd just be some really cool stuff that
they 2042 is a new version of Frostbite too, right? Which I thought is crazy because like
it seems way worse.
What's that?
It seems way worse. It's like it's a new engine, but it's like seems way worse.
Because Battlefield 5 looks amazing. The graphics in Battlefield 5 are fucking great. I don't know why they felt they needed to do that.
And it runs great.
It does run great. You can see the difference. You can definitely see the difference in the character models. The character models in 5, fine, look okay, but definitely not on the level that the character models are in 2042. If there's one thing about 2042, like I've said this, the character models look fucking incredible. Like the realistic facial movement, the amount of detail in it. So it's like that's definitely what they went for, and they got that, but the rest of the game is crap, unfortunately. I just wanted to also mention real quick too, Insurgent said in your chat, games based on Middle East Iraq wars, or no, where was the first one? Just Middle East are the best for combat. And I'll tell you what, one of my favorite iterations of Battlefield was a mod for Battlefield 1942 called Desert Combat, and it was like an Iraq war mod for Battlefield 1942, and it was badass, man. It was so well done. In fact, the developers that did it got hired by DICE to work on Battlefield 2. Like they did such an amazing job.
Wow.
I can't remember. It was Trauma Studios, or as the studio that did it, and then they got hired. They brought them in to work on Battlefield 2. It was So, and it was a desert it was a Middle Eastern. Yeah, there was Iraqi forces and U.S. forces, but yeah, it was a super fun mod for 1942. Actually, it was really, really well done. I don't know. I wonder if Insurgent. Wonder if you ever got a chance to play it. But.
Yeah, then there's some other games that are crazy along those lines, like Squad does that, and then I don't know what happened. I need to research what happened to that game, 8 Days in Fallujah. That seemed like a really wild game, because and they took it off the market for a while, I think, because something was too controversial about it. But the interesting part about that is they tried to harness the suckiness of like urban combat, so the maps are procedurally generated every round, so you never play the same maps. So it's always new, and you always don't know what you're getting into. Yeah.
Man.
And
That's wild.
I know they have a trailer where it shows the maps, and they do like a crane shot, like a pan up of the camera, and the map just morphs into different maps. Like, and that's how they just show in that engine that it procedurally generates the map every round, so it's always different. You never get the same map.
Interesting. Wow.
And they said they wanted to harness the uncertainty of like going into a place like that, and like
Sure,
not knowing.
right,
Because like on other games, like you learn the maps, you know, hey, somebody usually sits behind here, so I'm gonna check it or pre-fire it, and then if you can't do that, like it completely changes it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Jacob. Yeah, already leaked by Tom. They said he'll build up the story 2042. Yeah, I don't think the 2042 stuff's going anywhere. There is a world I feel like where they ditch it if it does, you know, terrible for the next couple. But based on what he's saying, and I kind of know where Tom gets his information from, and it's really pretty reliable. And I don't think the 2042 stuff is going anywhere.
Yeah, probably not.
They're gonna try it a few more times. Hopefully they can. Like I'm not a fan, like the specialist in the 2042 lore, and having them like that is like not my first choice for what to do with the game. But at the same time, if the game plays good, I don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want them to optimize it. It still runs way too terribly for. I mean, like Evan and I both have pretty beast PCs, and it's like why you know, it's like this game should run way smoother than this. It's so bad.
I definitely get that Insurgent where you're talking like the US playing the good guy. Yeah, I can see that being frustrating, especially like a lot of the citizens of those countries don't support wars. Like we're seeing that today. Like a lot of the, from what I've seen, many of the Russian people don't support what's going on right now. And it would be frustrating to see your country portrayed as a bad guy all the time if that's not what you agree with. So I definitely understand that. I really try to remove myself from video games and keep them in their own world. It's just a video game. That might be easy for me to say because all the US developers always make the US the good guys.
Right, yeah.
But like I try to keep it, you know, it's just a video game, but I speaking from, you know, always most all the time being on the good side, so I definitely get what you're saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you guys got.
I think that's, unless chat got anything else.
Yeah.
2042 map based on gameplay. Mine's renewal too. Yeah. What's your guys' favorite one?
Renewal's renewal is I think of all the maps, the one that like captures the world that they, you know, said they were gonna, you know, sort of portray in a sense is Discarded. I think Discarded's okay. There's at least it's one of the maps with a lot of cover. I mean, there's still some spaces that are definitely like way too big, but like, you know, there's plenty of cover amongst all the broken down cargo ship stuff. But renewal is the one that feels closest to a traditional Battlefield map, and for me, you know.
It seems like you're not as far from combat and you're not as far from cover in that map right. at all times, like you feel on the others. Like if you see a vehicle coming, you can get to something, or if you want to go fight somebody, you don't have to run for 30 minutes, you only have to run for like 18 minutes. So it's like
yeah.
I mean, we'll take these victories where we can get them, boys.
Exactly, yeah. I feel like there's little things there's little things about the maps that are cool. The stadium and Hourglass, the way it's like half filled in with sand and everything is really cool. And like there's little aspects about the maps that where they definitely got creative and they're pretty cool, but like overall they're mostly pretty crap.
Which makes me sad. That they didn't get enough time to flesh out some of those ideas some more and finish them. Yeah. And what is with the random like refrigerant raining down on you and causing damage like for no reason? That makes me upset.
It does happen. I know it happens. Well, there's fire suppression systems in some of the buildings, but they seem to go off randomly. On Orbital, a lot of those like pipelines and a lot of the like kind of like storage units, they're holding coolant, right? So it's like if those get they explode similar to the way the massive oil the oil containers on Breakaway explode. So yeah, I know, but it does seem to happen kind of randomly sometime. It's actually pretty annoying.
Yeah, and like in that stadium that you're talking about, the one on. Yep.
Hourglass.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like I said, Hourglass. That stadium, like you can fight inside there on the one end that's not covered in sand, and it's like random, and I'm like, what? I'm taking damage. Like you'll be in a fight on some stairs, and like you're about to pull off like a 1v3 or something, and the refrigerant will kill you because you're low health, and I'm like, that's fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. I know. Yeah. So. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Jacob, it sounds like a lot of stuff was scrapped, and it all comes down to just time. And then we even if you don't trust the leaks or whatever, you can look in the concept art, and there's like so many different natural disasters in the concept art. There's flooding, there's fires, there's mudslides, and stuff that was in the concept art that didn't make it into the game. It's like we got a tornado.
I know, dude.
When the game first came out, I was like,
oh my God.
I said legit, it feels like they worked 2.5 years on a tornado and six months on the rest of the game.
Well,
here's
like
the tornado looks crazy, and the rest of the game is dog water.
Here's the thing. They did kind of do this before. Not the same team, obviously, because this was a long time ago. A lot of people, and I'm not the only one. For a long time, I thought I was like the only person that said this, but like I've watched some videos in the past like couple of years since I've started like kind of following the game and stuff, and I've seen other people say this. Battlefield 4 was essentially like almost like kind of more like a Battlefield 3.5, right? It was because Battlefield 3 was not a super was definitely a little bit skimpier in terms of the way it was developed. And I remember it feeling very rushed. I remember thinking this game doesn't have a lot going on. The menu system seemed kind of weird. It didn't release with very many maps, and not a lot of stuff to unlock, and it always felt very rushed. And then they confirmed that it was rushed because they released the first DLC for it fairly quickly after it first released. Aftershock, I believe I'm pretty sure that was the first DLC for Battlefield 3. And then when 4 came out, 4 was like, for the most part, it's like a lot of this game looks a lot like Battlefield 3. They didn't really make a big leap from Battlefield 3 to this game. A lot of it looks very similar. A lot of the text looks exactly the same. The radar looks exactly the same. A lot of this stuff just looks exactly the same. But they fleshed out the menus better. They added more weapons. They added more unlocks and stuff like that, right? So it's like, in a sense, they've done this before. Now, this is a little different because this game is such a disaster from the start. Like this is nowhere near as complete a game as Battlefield 3 was. But like, I don't know, like some of the people that were there for this, for the Battlefield 3 to Battlefield 4 are still there. I'm pretty sure Daniel Berlin's one of them. So like, maybe they're going to go, look, this has happened before. We're going to come out with Battlefield 2042 with a subtitle, and it's going to be the game that they, had originally visioned. Maybe. I don't know.
The craziest thing I saw is there's only one person that's been on there before Battlefield 5 on the map team. The rest of them came at Battlefield 5 or later.
Oof,
interesting.
Yeah, that was like the big takeaway from my thing helping Tom. Like that stuck out to me is like out of like the 20 people on the map design team, one person was there for Battlefield 4.1.5. The rest of them most of them, all but a couple, came partway through Battlefield 5. So this is like their first full game of designing maps. And then you start to see like, that's why that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah. So, anyway, I think that's a good spot to end the stream, guys. That was really awesome. If you want to, you guys would stick around in the vid call, I'll touch base with you before we bail, but I'll probably end the stream here. All of you guys at home, please check out the links in the description. You guys can get their Twitches. That's where they stream it on Dubfires. On Thursdays is their podcast. It's really good. It's a lot like this, but like a lot better because I'm not there. And then you guys can check that out. And they are taking a little bit of a break, but they should be back next month is their plan so far. So just keep an eye out for that. Hit the bell on them, and then go over and check out their podcast. If you guys, their last several episodes are still really relevant to what's going on today and with Battlefield and everything. So if you guys are working or driving and want something to listen to, I highly recommend check the link to their podcast is also in the description. So I would just encourage you guys to check them out because they're awesome, as you have seen tonight. And I think that's all I had. Did you guys have anything to add before we take off?
No. Just thanks you. Yeah, thanks, man. This is awesome being on. I really appreciate you having us on. You're a friend of the pod, of course.
Ton of fun, man.
Always be a friend of the pod. Appreciate you plugging it and everything. Yeah, everyone. If you check it out, check out some of the past episodes. There won't be any new ones for, like as Crash said, for a little while. But we plan on being back. We're not going anywhere. We gotta, this game is, we're kind of one more casualty of 2042 as a lot of content creators are. But we're not, we're only downed. We're only downed. We're looking for a revive, which we're working on, right? So we'll get there. We'll get ourselves back up, and But I appreciate it if you check out the podcast. I really appreciate it, and
it's just too much fun making podcasts and videos to quit, even though the game sucks. So we're all pivoting, but carrying on. And
that's right.
You guys that stick with us are fucking legends, and it means
real
a lot.
Ones. Real ones. We got some real ones in our community too, and
absolutely.
This Justin was in your chat hanging. Junkie Boy, Rob Dog, whole Cramped Club, we got a bunch of real ones in our community too, man. It's been great. So
yeah, and thanks for sharing your community with me too. Like giving me shout outs and stuff has been awesome because you got a great crew over there too. So no, it's just good shit all the way around. So yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. We should be back next week with some kind of disaster on Monday. I would love if you guys could tune in. Thanks so much for being here. We'll leave the VOD up right away for everybody, and hopefully see you on the next one. Peace
out, everyone.
Deuces.